Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Super excited today.
Yep.
Jamie Malcolm with us. And Jamie is what I'd refer to as a real estate gangster, or I guess just overall like a business gangster. You've done a lot of stuff over the years. We've been friends for years now, right? We met at Joe Evangelisti's, that was probably, you're real good with timelines. That was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Probably 4 or 5. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to be like, it was 13 months, down to the day.
Yeah.
You're good with that stuff. But we met at a mastermind. We connected and we became good friends ever since.
Yep.
And to give some of your backstory, right? You started a sales and marketing company with a paper, started acquiring a crap ton of real estate really early on, really young in your life and everything.
Yep.
And that's a huge rental portfolio and everything. And flipped a bunch of properties. I like that we're so similar in the way that we'll buy stuff and just kind of go with the flow on it and just make things work. There's the highly analytical type in what we do. Mm-hmm. And I think guys like us that are kind of shoot from the hip are way fewer and far between, right? But
you get away with that when when money's cheap and opportunities are up. So
that's the truth.
Yeah, but
we can definitely talk about that. But take us back to the start. I want to talk about like the start of your business journey, right, with the sales and marketing company. So what was that all about?
Yeah, so I started when I was, I guess, that particular industry. I was like 14 years old, and I just did like a door-to-door sales for like selling like newspaper subscriptions, and then it just evolved into like just going up to different levels of it. So when I was like, say 18, I made my own marketing company, which is, just make a little LLC and get contracts with different big newspapers like the Inquire and the New York Post, stuff like that. And just kind of like turned it into like having like 25, 30 reps, and everybody was, just selling subscriptions. And I had, it was kind of like, became more passive. Like I just set people up in the morning in the office. They would all just, roll out for the day, and that was it. So it allowed me to have the time to be able to like buy rental properties with the cash I would make from that, and just kind of like hire guys.
You got up to 25 sales reps when you were 18?
Yeah, 18, 19, yeah. And most of them are like in their 40s. So like my average rep was like maybe 45, 50 years old. I had like 65-year-olds working. I was like 19. Yeah, it's pretty odd.
That different. Is wild, man. So you started doing it when you were 14, but when you were like 18, that's when you were like, all right, cool, I'm going to pour some gasoline on it.
Yeah, I worked for another subcontractor. So I was like just like a door-to-door like sales rep. So like a van would pick me up, and it would be like me and 7 other people in there, and they would drop us in neighborhoods, and we would knock door to door. And then as I got older, I was like maybe a manager for that company for like a year, where I took out kids for them, like high school kids. And then once I was 18, I was like, I'm just going to do it a different way. So it just gave me an advantage because it turned so passive that I was able to like do the work in my rentals. Because everybody has this thing where they work a full-time job, and they're like, oh well, I'm going to buy a rental, I'm just going to sheetrock it myself, I'm going to paint it, I'm going to do the tile. And then eventually I think that's where people run into problems, because they have the concept down on how it's done. Like I'm sure like a lot of people can physically do the sheetrock and physically figure stuff out because they might be handy. But if you're working a practical job 40, 50 hours a week, and you got a wife and kids and all that, you're really like, how much time do you really have on the weekends to do a full flip, and then you're paying interest to hard money, and everything's like a time bomb. And I think a lot of people that start off doing it, they kind of really like hit the ground hard on their first couple flips, because it's like tough, because they run into that, because they're almost like figuring a deal out based off of like, oh, well, I can do sheetrock for this because I'll do that myself. I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the and then eventually they have to sub that out, and then the numbers get weird, the timing gets weird.
Yeah.
So I just had that on, being able to get that training just because of the business was so lucrative and passive. And I was just like hiring guys 200 a day work, and then I would just go in there and start working with them. I'm like 20 years old, and they're like, some of them, they know a lot of trades, so you find these little tricks. So then through the years, I just get my own guys, and then I've just, have my own, crew of people. So when I like buy a property, I have, I just try to, make the advantages in my favor. So like, it was like, when I looked at it, the way I process things is like, when you're doing real estate, it's like there's, being a real estate investor, either a flipper or a buy and hold, there's usually like the contractors, like, a big piece, the money's a big piece. So it's like the more roles that you can take, like if you're doing your own marketing, that's another piece. So like has to be an advantage to make that up.
For sure.
So everybody else, the masses are out here like just looking for deals that are like home runs so they can pay a contractor, pay the money, and the marketing's built in because they got somebody else paid for the marketing, like a wholesaler. So, at one point I was, finding my own deals, funding my own deals for the most part, and doing my own contract. And so like every deal was like super marginal for me. So like I'll do a flip and say I make 70 grand on it. Like another person that's like a newbie that's trying to do it, or somebody that doesn't have those, those other attributes, like that 70 might be 30 for them. And I'm
Sure.
Or even less, it just depends.
It changes everything for you.
Yeah.
But take us back. So you're 18, you get up to 25 sales reps on this sales and marketing company, right? So what was that like, growing a sales team? Because no matter how you slice it, man, it's like, I feel that I'm pretty damn good at growing a sales team now. And the most I was ever up to was like 6 people. And that's a job, like no question about it. So how did you get the skills, knowledge, and money to be able to even bring 25 people in?
You
must have been making real good money from 14 to 18 too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like a mindset, and it's kind of strange because like I was so relentless from like 14 to 25, where it was like everything was just like night and day, 7 days a week. Sunday, I'm like, I can recall carrying 60 pieces of sheetrock up like on a Sunday night, like in the winter, like just because like I just wanted to get it loaded for the guys. But as it relates to the sales company, it's just kind of happened like just organically. Like I had a couple key people in position where they were like guys that were like I made managers or made like director of operations, whatever we called it at the time, and they were just so like they had such a big voice that they like just always talked. Like they'd be like we would work in like Walmart's, we'd set up like a little display in a Walmart or like a sporting event, and a couple of the guys were so talkative that they would just be like, oh yeah, if you want a job, there's opportunity. And then they had an incentive because they were making overrides on people, so that they would want to bring in somebody if they seen somebody sharp in the field, because they were out there 5-6 days a week. So they would just recruit people, and people would just come on and just keep it rolling, and I just kind of like managed them. So I think when you're doing a sales company, it's like once you have a couple key players in place, when you're doing like a salesy type of script kind of thing, the main component of running that is like everybody thinks it's all these different versions, but from my perception, it's just more like managing their personalities is the key point. And it's like, because when you have sales reps, it's like not like I was a sales rep my whole life, so I understand it, but it's really like if they're really good, they're going to be you. If they were good at every aspect of that industry, they're going to be the owner. And why would they work for you? So there's going to be somebody that has the skill to do that particular task that they're selling, is if it's a wholesale deal, or if it's selling something simple like a newspaper subscription or something like that. They have to have something missing in their life that's going to make them become a long-term, lifetime sales rep. Like a guy I was working for, he's a 30-year sales rep. I mean, it's like, why couldn't you get past that after 30 years? So it's like a psychological thing. So like when you have that, you got to go in thinking like, if you take everything personal, why your sales reps are this or why they're doing that, there's a reason why they're a sales rep, and they have all the skills to be the best at selling it, but they just don't have that extra piece to go above. So,
but some of your sales reps were making a crap load of money.
I had a couple people
right?
making $100,000 a year plus, for a couple of those like hot years, like 2015, 2018 range. And and it's like they can never get out of their own way. So it's like, and I would always try to like, give them as much, advice as possible, or try to help them save their money. A lot of them were like rented properties off me. So that was like another key component that I had, where like a lot of the managers were like these guys that were like drifters that were always like making a ton of money, but never had nothing to show for it. So like, I like put a lot, like maybe I had 5 top managers and like 4 of them were renting properties off me. So it was like all built in. So it was like, that was a way to kind of contain them a little bit in a way where I was offering more.
Got it.
So it's like I always kind of try to do strategic things like that that you kind of like can offer more to the table, because what's to say like if they're just doing sales and they've been doing it for 20, 30 years that
Why is it going to be
what's the
for
next
you?
hottest thing?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're just
yeah.
going to go to the next guy, giving them $5 more a sale or whatever it is. So
Yep.
you got to have more incentive in the game. Like I had like corporate rental cars that I would get to these guys because they could never hold a car down. So it's like a rental car on my company name, a property, and your income. It's like it kind of like you're not like trapping them, but you're just giving them so much that they
Yeah, it's like, why would they want to leave? Yeah.
So you just roll that, and then
I like that.
and then COVID came, and the wheels just kind of rolled off just for everybody, and it was kind of like what it was. And but a lot of times what people don't like think is like you're just out here like managing stuff and it's passive and you're dealing with it. But that piece about managing personalities for these types of guys, like when you're in the flow of it and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you just kind of deal with it like anything. But there's some backlash for that. Like it definitely set me back a little bit mentally, just because like you're constantly getting lied to because they're salesmen, so they're always crafty and they're always like it's just like they're always like saying things. So it's like you always have to just like never really take anything serious, and you can't ever say what you really want to say because then you'll throw them off and then they get mad and their mindset's wrong. They're not going to sell as much. There's like this vicious circle. So you end up having this weird perception that carries over to real life, and then all of a sudden you're like kind of talking to everybody like we're like, oh, I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and you're like, do you really? Like, you didn't know about that 2 weeks ago? Like, it's like you think everyone's like kind of just making shit up because that's how those guys operate. Because they're all independent contractors. You have everything set up. They call out on the fly. They work on the fly, and there's really like no real 9 to 5 structure to it. So you have to, and you're constantly giving advances out, and you're constantly like, someone's phone gets shut off. You're making payments, and it's like that's all falls under managing personalities.
Yeah.
So when you do that kind of stuff at scale, like with that many people, and mixed with the door-to-door sales that I had as a kid, like, I mean, a direct sale when you're knocking door-to-door, you're just knocking and someone just answers and you just got to talk right on the spot. Like you get a lot of social skills from that.
Absolutely, man.
So a lot of times for me, I did that. Like me, I just kind of went to high school, graduated, that was it. And I didn't do anything in college. And, never really cared for school too much. I kind of just always had like the mind of what I wanted to do. Like in my eighth grade, yearbook, I guess they ask you what you want to be when you're older, and I just said like real estate investor. So like it's been
get out of here in eighth grade.
Yeah, I said I want to be a real estate investor and a professional bowler. Not that I am a professional bowler, but I do bowl at a higher level.
I'd qualify you as a professional.
So the two things I wanted to do when I was 14, I still do 20 years later. So it's like,
dude, that's badass.
It's just more of the consistency.
Wait, so how did you like at such a young age? Because did you have anybody else in your family or that you knew that was involved in real estate at a young age?
No, but
I didn't even know what real estate was in eighth grade, bro.
Yeah, so it's like unique because like it's all comes down to like this job that I had, and this job is crazy. Like the door-to-door sales, it's like one of those things when you're a kid, like me growing up in the city. I mean, you're in this more like in the suburbs. I don't know if you've seen it, but there would always be like these little things like student jobs, 14 and older, and there'd be like little tabs on the pole. You pull it off and you just start, and you can start.
I mean, I had a paper route when I was a kid, but I sure as shit didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't start a sales and marketing company that had 25 employees, man. Like that's
that's
crazy.
The thing. It's like, it's kind of like the guy that was my manager when I first started. He was the influence. That was my point, is like, he was always talking about it. He's like, oh, you buy real estate, do this, but he never did it. He just talked about it like with me. So I got real like comfortable with him because I was like,
that lit the fire.
Yeah, like he was definitely, if I like had to contribute somebody to it, it would be him, because he would talk about it and it would like spark my interest.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, just buy it. And then you like whatever he said, I didn't really do that part. It's just the idea of having it. And
but it opened your mind to that world.
And then like it would be a situation where like I got so good because at being like at selling the papers that I would be like me and 7 other people would be in the crew. So it'd be like 8 like high school kids going out there, and I would like beat all 7 of them combined myself. So he would like feed into that. So I was like the leader. So he would like run little deals with me, like, yo, you beat everybody, I'll give you $50 a day. And I'm like 14, 15 years old. Yeah. So like it was like I was almost kind of like felt like a mini celebrity inside that company, because they had like 50 kids working. So they would do like this monthly sales thing where like you would like win like a certain savings bond for college if you were like really up there. So you go in the office and it would have names, and it would like, I would average 100 sales a week, and the next highest was like 25 or 30. Like it was that different. It was like that disparity.
Damn.
So it would be like for the month, it would be like, say me for 420, and the next highest was like 120, 130.
Wow.
Like crazy. Like,
wow.
So it gave me it gave me this like really strong perception of like my capabilities, what I can do. So I kind of just went out blind and just started buying houses and doing things. And I kind of have to contribute that to a little bit of my personality today. And it was just like kind of like a just confidence that you get from it. And like, and it was like, even though it was like so silly, like the rest of the world are thinking of like newspaper subscriptions. Like, what's that? Like, you know, like no one even thinks of, like when I would tell
and
people.
here
that
you
was,
are, a young 20-year-old making multiple six figures every damn year.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's like, you know, so I'm just doing it that way. And it kind of gives you that confidence, and then it just rolls over. And all of a sudden then I'm like 23 years old with 25 single family properties. So you're like a millionaire at 25. Like,
Wait, say that again. You were 23 years old and you had how many properties?
At least 25. Yeah. Single family rentals in like B and up neighborhoods. And, you know, and then I had all the background of doing the work and knowing the understanding of the contract. And so it was like, you just kind of picked and chose. Like, you know, a deal just hit me. I just bought it. Like, I didn't even care. I would buy stuff blind just because I was confident in being able to fix it. Like, I just like, okay, cool. The numbers are so good. Like, nothing could be wrong in that house that would make it not work. And I would just do it.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, I mean, not saying it's like the best way of doing it or the smartest way, but
it's what works for you, and
Yeah.
because the way that you are, and you're just kind of like me in that regard, that it's like whatever it is, I'm gonna make it work. You know, I will make this deal make sense.
Exactly.
But
and then it just kind of flows through the years, and then so a lot of times, like, you know, like everybody talks about not, you know, like you die in a comfort zone and all that. Like I used to have the outside before just last 4 or 5 years that I've been around, like, you know, listening to all these influencers and people that talk and all these inspirational kind of things. Like I always thought like that was where you wanted to get, to a comfort zone, you know? So I like kind of thrived in doing that, where like if I like want to sleep late, I do. If I want to, you know, dress a certain way, like, you know, I like wore like those Jordan slides for like 12 years. I'm like signing $600,000 like loans, and I'm like in like shorts and stuff, you know? So I never really cared about that, and I kind of like almost like started like developing like an attitude towards it, where it's like I kind of like would go to like high end restaurants and wear a hat and shit. Like I just, not out of disrespect, just out of I want to be comfortable. And so it's just, you know, the people that know me in my circle, it kind of like it's kind of like a thing. And then if you go somewhere where you're not known, it's kind of like what's this dude doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of really got to that comfort zone probably like 2013, 2014. I kind of just like hibernated there for a while. I still grew, still did stuff, but I think that's a lot of things that people are struggling with now. Is like a lot of people, you know, when they, you know, the last 5 years, a lot of people like amped up a lot. Like you did a lot of big stuff, and everybody got in like this little comfort zone in their own level. Not like it doesn't have to be the same as me, but now we're in a situation where we have to like quickly get out of that comfort zone. And I know I'm struggling with it, because like I go from being in a situation where like everything is, you know, just flowing, deals are flowing, money's flowing, cash out refinances with, you know, DCSR loans at 4%. I'm walking with $90,000 checks for refi proceeds, which are tax free. It's like, you know, it's like almost like, you know, I had, you know, 42 rentals at the time, like, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm like, every one of them I bought in before 2015, which is way less, like I bought them way less than what it's worth.
Yeah, you have a crap ton of equity.
So every like 2 months, I'm getting $90,000 checks, you know?
Yeah.
And so just the way it goes. I think it's you just kind of have to like I said, revamp like everything.
Shameless
You know?
plug.
You know, and it's just kind of like
So you're saying like a lot of that is because of the current market, the economy, inflation, all that type of stuff.
I was grinding before this whole thing. So like before all these rates got changed and all these values got inflated, I had like a conservative way of grinding. And then it got me like lazier, because I could just like there's everyday Joes out there flipping houses and wholesaling. Before, like you actually had to have some kind of structure to what you're doing, or some kind of money to like make it happen.
Yep.
So when a seasoned person walks into a market that we're in, or just an economic, not even just a real estate market, just an economic opportunity like we had, you don't even have to try. Like it was just like texting and making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just like, oh, I'll buy it, do get this loan, do that. It was just so simple.
Yeah.
Now you get, you know, you get tied into that. Now I got to like, you know, really like grind down, because now all these, you know, everything's getting, you know, all those, you know, new guys or people that were just like short-term people are all just flowing out.
Yeah.
The money's expensive. The deals are there. the sellers are prepped to think their houses are worth, so much money, and now it's coming down, and it's going to take a couple years for that to like kind of like level itself out because the only way they're going to realize they're not getting it is they have to go an extended
they have
period
to
of time.
experience pain.
They're going to have to
it not
experience 2
selling.
years of somebody not giving them their number, and eventually they settle back down. So
I hope it's not years. I don't think it's going to be years. I could be wrong.
just never
My
been
crystal ball is broke, but yeah.
It's usually like real estate's really expensive and rates are low, or rates are high and real estate is really cheap. We're in a situation where it's both.
Yeah.
For the most part in most neighborhoods. So it's a little tough, and there's still flips out there.
Absolutely. But you're right. Everything is harder right now.
Yeah.
Every fucking thing. And, we look at it massively in terms of real estate, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't know, any industry that has not yet been visibly impacted by the current market conditions and inflation and everything, I think they all are inevitably going to be hit, changed, or wiped out.
Yeah.
We're happening to see it first because the Fed is getting exactly what it wanted, right? Mm-hmm. It's a trickle down effect. Let's raise rates, do what we're doing to the real estate market, and that's going to flow over into every other industry, in the country and everything. So it's like, of course it's going to impact the real estate industry first, because that's directly correlated to what they did, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been hearing people that are like straight up arrogant about, it's not going to impact my industry and like the economy, like nothing can change this. And it's like, we'll see. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's a lot of stuff that goes on.
When stuff changes, to your point, it's like, change is hard, man. Adapting is fucking hard. Like nobody likes to do it.
I never backed away from anything. I'm actually like, with all these economic things that are going on, like I just, as you know, like I did a big project downtown where.
Massive project.
Yeah. So it's like an Airbnb downtown where it's like in a A+ neighborhood where I think I got appraised for 1.3 million. I spent like 1.1 doing it. And I had to take down like a $900,000 mortgage and leave a couple $100,000 in there. And I'm like, 8% on it. So like my mortgage payment's a ton down there. And then in conjunction of building my own house that I built up in the suburbs, like in the Ben Salem area, and, spent over $1 million on that. And it's like, I'm trying to take down loans and claiming money. So even with the short opportunity, I'm still navigating bigger projects.
Yep.
And, I just kind of do it low key. I mean, I know some people like to, post stuff all the time and do different things. I just kind of just do it low key. I mean, people know what I'm doing. So sometimes I'll throw a little post out there just to like kind of initiate it, just so people can kind of see that I'm still doing it. But it's like, even though I'm 35, I've been doing it for 17 years because I bought my first property when I was 18. So not that it matters, but I'm kind of like a 17-year veteran, I guess, at this.
Yeah.
Doing the same exact thing over and over again. Like I don't change. Like I don't want to really do anything different. Some people, they do single family and then they start and then they want to do self-storage and they want to do apartments. Like I want to just be 100% control over something. So like, and that is standing true now. Like how, me and you both had opportunities where, things get tight or you got to pivot and change. If you have a single family property that's, not in a lower neighborhood, you can trade that chip in at any moment. You can pull cash, you can sell, you can do things. So like I bought properties in 2010, 2011, 2012 that I'm now cash out refinancing or selling. And it gave me the ability to free up hundreds of thousands of dollars to do these million dollar projects.
Yep.
So if I was in a syndication where I'm in an apartment building in Iowa somewhere, 200 units, and I'm running around saying I own 200 units, but really I own 1/10 of 200 units.
Right.
It's still cool. I'm not taking away from people, but who's the
But it's not what you
that?
want anyway.
If I need to pull $200,000 from that, can I just go to the partners and say, can we do a refi just for my personal use? So I'm just more my personality. I just like to hold stuff and kind of like, because to be honest, when I was younger, the motivation on why I did things was like sheerly just competition. Like I actually just always wanted to be better than people. So like if I wanted to buy rentals and I heard some other young guy had 10, like I'm like, I want to have more and more, and I would just keep pushing it. So it was like everything I did that I achieved at a young age was like, even with the newspaper marketing thing, like if somebody wrote 10, I wanted to double them. If somebody had a rental, I want to get 3. If somebody was benching 250, I want to bench 300 at the gym. Like when you're young, you care about like who's doing more weight and all that.
Yep.
And it's like, playing sports, it's the same idea. So now after you get into this comfort zone, and I was able to safely hide there for 10 years and just do things whenever I wanted, you get a little more humble, like, things happen. Like I lost my dad 3 years ago, and that kind of changed me a little bit. Started getting a little more anxiety and different things that I think a lot of men of right now of our age go through. Like, you're building
Bro,
families.
everybody deals with it,
Yeah.
but nobody talks about
Exactly.
it.
So I'm
Absolutely
really
right.
I try to like infuse with people on a one-on-one basis, and we talk. I mean, we had some like pretty vulnerable conversations, and I think, like some people that see me, they feel like, oh, this dude's just got it all like easy, and like, you don't care. You just, nothing bothers them. And it's like kind of like a it's just more like my personality. Like I can have $10 million in the bank or be, bouncing overdrafts, and I'll have the same kind of demeanor to me.
You're going to be the same.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's kind of like just an accidental thing that I have just based off of like just genes, I guess, and just being able to handle stuff. But yeah, I mean, anxiety stuff pops up. So like that changes everything. So like now in today's world, I have a little more anxiety. I don't really care about competition with people. If anything, I like to see people do good. Not that I was malicious before. I just was like more internalized for myself. Like I just wanted to be the best. And it wasn't like I wanted anybody to do bad. If you did good, I congratulated you, but I really wanted to do better. But now it's just, I don't have that. So then like I was talking to you different times before, is I just want to like establish a new flame. So now that the comfort zone's over, I'm, part of the group now where I say, all right, what's my new flame that I used to have before in my early 20s? And I'm just, trying to glide on, trying to find some kind of new ground to be able to say, all right, like what's going to be my new motivation, which, that would be, the next level would be like family, kids, stuff like that. And you kind of have like a new flame. And it's like, I'm still competitive on a normal level, but like if I really was asking myself the question, it was like literally to my core. Like it was like somebody would say they did something, like, oh, cool. And then all I did was just go right to the drawing board. Like, what am I going to do to outdo this person?
Yeah.
And even if it was subconscious, like it wasn't like I was like zoning in on their picture on a dartboard, like ready to, like it was nobody in particular. It was just like, if I seen people do good, it was like it made me want to do better, and that was it. And I don't know why, but
so that went away. And have you tried like channeling into that at all? And comparison can be a really fucking negative, nasty thing too, right?
Yeah.
But if you're channeling it in a way that it's like, all right, it's not malicious. I'm not trying to hurt anybody else. I see what this dude's doing. He's got 100 units. So man, I want to make myself better. Like, I think that's still a healthy way of, processing things. But you're saying that you just don't have that anymore, right? Like you don't really give a shit about what anybody else has going on or anything.
Like
you're just kind of like,
you just over like, for my age, like, so like when I was younger, it was like, I just got so far above everybody and not like worldwide, just like in my little circle that it was like,
right.
It's like going and playing basketball at the park with people and like, they don't really play. And then you're like thinking you're good because you're like scoring on people that don't score. It's like, so like that little circle. So that's why when you start broadening your circle and it gets bigger, you start getting around like more successful people like you. And all of a sudden you realize like, oh, I really got to step up a little bit. So then a lot of that happens through the years and you step up and you broaden your relationships. And so now it's at a point where, I might be able to, try to sharpen that pencil a little bit and try to get that little flame. I mean, I do have a flame. It's just that killer flame, and usually you only it's like you just gotta find something to get it going.
Yeah, no, man, I think about it all the time. Like, I started in business anyway when Cynthia was pregnant with me 12 years ago. Like, and I do have a ridiculous drive. Like most people think that I'm crazy and delusional, and I probably am to a large degree, but I can attribute a lot of that to, it's family. I want to be able to provide for my family. I want them to be secure. I want to have financial security. I want to be able to leave things behind to my kids. I want them to see what good work ethic is. I want them to see what making a difference and an impact in a business, in a community, in, some form of hopefully global sense at some point.
Yeah.
And that kind of is like my fire, right? I don't know how different it would be for me. Like if I didn't have the kids and everything, I don't know if I would work as hard as I do or even care to work as hard as I do or have done any of the things that I had done. So it's like, for me, I know that it was a freaking blessing, even though I had kids really, really young, and it could have been a detractor as well.
Yeah, but your wife being so supportive of all that.
Oh, dude, that's massive.
And then she like really like just like it's not even like a role, like she's just part of it. It's like I'm not saying that she just steps up to be the mom that you need her to be for your kids, and then the wife, and then she like is mixed into the business, like she's all for it. She's in for the late nights that you put in. So it's like all that factors in, but you earn that right because you've shown her, like that you guys are a partnership. And that's important too, because you can be doing all this stuff, and if you're constantly battling at home, if they're not agreeing with the time you're putting in, or agreeing that you're putting too much work in one part and not being home enough, but obviously you balance that out, and she just is like perfect for like to fit what you are,
dude.
So that's monster too. And I think a lot of people in today's world that are trying to start off and they try to do stuff, because just like you, I mean, you're like putting videos up and you have all this presence, so you probably like 10x what I do, but I deal with at least 5 people a week coming up to me, oh dude, like like how many houses you have? Oh, I want to do that. Like, how do I start? When do I do that? And it's like, it's tough because it's like they don't have those pieces, right? Like not everyone's set up to be like some big entrepreneur.
Yep.
Some people don't have the personality. Some people don't know the gift of gab to talk to lenders and know how to make paperwork look like the way it needs to get loans done. Like that's like a whole thing that you can't really teach somebody. You have to like do it, and you got to like, when you're getting a loan for like a regular rental property, sometimes like your tax returns have to be like set up 2 years in advance. So if you're going for loans,
Sure.
you can't just put all these expenses on a rental and then think you're going to get a loan.
Yeah.
So all that stuff is like a thing. And when I like, I'll go on these little tirades where I'll like talk to somebody and I'll just like blurt out all the shit, and they're like, how do you know all that stuff? I'm like, you just do it. And it's like, it's all in my head when I'm doing tax returns and stuff, but I'm not like the super focused guy. I just kind of, and that's, where it comes down to is I think like it's all about like really knowing what people, like when somebody's trying to start, to really know what you're getting involved in today's world. Yeah. So if it was my recommendation for someone starting, I would, obviously you can't choose just to have money. That's something that you have to go out and create. So if you're in the part where you're trying to create more money, start doing things that are like, like learning contracting, learning how to run crews, like learning how to, do stuff where you can, like manage credit cards. Like I have like people, all these top guys, they say don't use credit cards and all that. Like I can almost make a book on saying how to, build $1 million portfolio through credit cards. Like I have 45 credit cards, like a $650,000 limit. I run credit cards all day long. And then when it's time to, get a loan, you sell a property or pull cash from whatever source, pay it all down, your score goes up. You get the loan, and then while your score's up and you have no debt, you apply for more cards, and you just keep going. And then you can, even making LLCs, if you have different LLCs that are holding companies for rental properties, you can, get business cards where when your credit score is high, you approve for it, but then it doesn't hit your personal credit, so now you're keeping that debt off. And, you can just keep going, forever with it. That's huge, dude. Yeah. And then so then when you go to flip a house, if you're instead of you having to come up with 30, 40 grand to start, all you have to do is find a good deal, get a lender, which they're out there, give you the money, maybe they'll do 90%, and you got to put up like 10, 15 grand, and now all the rehab can now be paid with credit cards.
Yep.
So,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So you can do stuff like that, and you got to manage it, but people are scared of paying interest, and interest is just the way the world is. Like everyone's paying interest. All the rich people, top 1%, all they're doing is just their profit is the margin that they're getting. So you buy an asset, pay the interest, whatever the difference is your profit. Like all this, like trying to make all the cash to do a whole deal and do it all like with your own money. It's like if you were like somebody in a regular 9 to 5 and you're making 120, 150 grand a year, and you didn't want to be credit card debt, that makes sense. Like, why would you do it? Because you're not trading it for something. For me, I don't even pay attention to credit card balances. I just put them all on auto pay for like a ridiculous monthly payment. So if it's like whatever the minimum is, I just add like $2,000 to it, and I just spend and just keep funding my accounts with the rental income, whatever flips I get, and just keep funding it. And it's just like a balanced thing, and I don't even pay attention to it. Like I don't care. Like I mean, based off my credit rating, like my cards aren't that crazy. Like I don't have like 30% cards, but I'm sure some of them might be 23. I just don't pay attention to it. I just kind of do it, and it might not be the best thing to do, but I mean, I was able to obviously grow.
But if it was something that you were able to leverage and help you buy more properties, build bigger businesses, do more deals, you know?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the way it goes, you know. So it's like that was always my way of doing it. So it's like there's other people that had this whole like, you know, normal way of doing it, I guess you can say.
I
Where
don't
like,
think there is a normal. I really don't think there is.
I've always been unique though. I've always found like some backdoor way of doing something, and I just did that my way. And then like, you know, I can make my income look the way it is. I can make it look low. I can make it look high. I have everything to back it up. Like, you know, it's all just a strategy.
Yep.
And then, you know, people just find me with deals. Like I don't have to like, I can just. It's kind of, I don't advertise. I don't, you know, do any marketing. I don't like try to spend money on anything. I don't have an office. So it's like more the regular person's way of being like a successful investor, which I think the masses amount of people that are out here, you know, paying for programs and doing stuff, a lot of them are going to do it the regular way. Not everyone's going to have a big outfit or a big business in what they're doing. Yep. So like the regular way of doing it is kind of like what I would be characterized as is just like an excelled version of a normal person trying to be an investor. Like I don't have like these little terminologies and like, you know, like assistants and doing all that stuff. Like I just kind of just do it like, you know, like how a normal person would do it, but just doing it the way, like getting it done kind of.
Let's talk about that with assistants, because you did have one for a while, right? And I personally can't imagine life without an assistant, and just thinking about
kind of workload, you need it because you're like you have all these different moving parts.
Yes and no, man. Like I think even on the rental side alone, like put the wholesale business to the side and everything, I could handle everything on my own. But like we've talked about it before, it's like even when you end up with an issue with a utility bill or anything like that, dude, sometimes it takes 10 phone calls being on hold for 45 minutes to an hour, spent 10 hours trying to fix a $300 issue and everything. Like it can be a time suck.
And I still struggle with that certain times because I do manage all my own properties. I just, sometimes like it's all like, to me, the golden rule is just auto pay. Right, when I get involved in anything, a credit card, a payment, whatever, auto pay it right away. Boom, and a couple things get through the cracks, and then you just wait for it to like shut off or whatever. You get a notice and you pay it. That's like normal. But when I had an assistant, I just felt like I was like kind of stressed me out a little bit where I was trying to find stuff for her to do to justify the money I was paying her. Yeah. So I would like go to my own office and then she's like, what do you think I want to do? I'm like, just finding tasks, because I felt like everything I did was in my own head was so complex that it was like it would take more effort and stress to be able to explain it. And
you're absolutely right. That's true, man. In almost all cases, it's like it always takes longer to train somebody how to do something. Like my subconscious belief, whether it's true or not, is like when I'm teaching anybody, and it's not just an assistant, it's true for salespeople or any other employees in a company. It's like, I know that this task would take me an hour to do, and I might have to spend 10 hours training somebody how to do it. Yeah. So it's like, I got to spend 10 times more effort and energy when I could just do it myself. But it's the idea of, well, hopefully if everything goes well, I never have to touch that again. And there's been plenty of times in the past where I have trained somebody up on something and either it didn't work out or they didn't stay or whatever the case may be. And it's like, man, now I got to go spend that 10 hours again and train somebody else to do it when, again, I could just spend the hour myself and do it, you know?
And that's draining, though, because you're saying it right now, but we've had talks when these things freshly happen where you're like, and you call me like, oh, can you believe this person did this or that? And it sucks because, you know, now you're just talking because it's passive because it's water under the bridge now. But yeah, it
can suck. Yeah.
It's kind of like diminishing sometimes where you kind of like teach somebody tools and then they walk. I mean, everybody like leaves, you know, but that's the point I made earlier is that when you get somebody that's that's really good at what they do, but they have that extra intangible, you're always going to risk them leaving. Yeah. And they can make their own stuff. So that's why it's like balance. So it's like I did that for so long that now even though I just told you all that success, I'm kind of a little turned off with sales companies because I don't want to manage people anymore.
You don't want to deal with that aspect.
Yeah, so I did 25. Yeah, I had the success, but like I took a toll doing that. And everybody has tolls, you know? And it's like, and then I thought I wanted to get involved with more kind of bigger business stuff. So like I joined like the mastermind group and it was like $30,000 a year. It's a big commitment just to like throw at something. And, it was a good opportunity, and I think like it was, I think I got a lot of cool stuff from it. Obviously, met you, so that's worth it just by itself.
My man.
And different things, but like I think the biggest takeaway that I got from that was realizing that I didn't really care about that. I tried to like fit into this mold where I'm like going there and I'm like forcing myself into like these weird clothes to wear at these things.
These weird clothes.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there like dressing
By
all
weird
in,
clothes, you mean like you know,
khakis and shit.
jeans and like a polo, bro.
Yeah, like I don't want to do that, right? So I'm like sitting there and I'm like, you know, meeting these people that are like doing all these big things that you see online, and it's like, dude, like I don't want to do that. Like I'm not trying to do a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure that works for them, and it's like it's cool because they're just sharing their journey because it worked for them. But the main thing is just self-doubt. Like you're like, oh, how does this person do it? Like, what do I have to do to be this like this guy? And then you sit there with them, and they're like, dude, these guys are like regular people, and it's like it just gives you like the, you know, like you have the perception that it's like harder, and then you get that like you see it firsthand. You're like, this is simple stuff. Like
you're absolutely right. And I was just talking to somebody the other day about like along the same topic is, yeah, man, like when you first go into anything like a mastermind group or a mentor thing, or even if you just have somebody that you look up to, once you finally start to develop that relationship and everything, like you do realize first and foremost, this is just another usually normal dude. And, you know, your ego helps you in that regard because you're like, oh, well, I'm competitive. I can do that. I can be just as good. I can do that. And that's a helpful thing. But if you're not able to read between the lines and you just look at somebody else, you join a group and there's some dudes in there that are doing 10 times more than you are. And you're like, shit, that's what I want to be. And you start to try to replicate everything that they do. That can make you really fucking miserable real fast. And I think you had the same thing, right? Like you tried to fit that mold and you're like, this doesn't feel good, man. Yeah. And really the core of that was it didn't feel good because that's not what you wanted to be. Yeah. But when you're around people that, you know, have a similar thought process, similar trajectory of where they're saying they want to go, and especially when you have a mentor that's like, this is the way that you should be, it makes you feel kind of shitty when you're like, well, that's not how
it's almost like an identity crisis where when I was in that little, it wasn't just that mastermind, it was other ones. I was going to different, you know, even like, you know, 1-day events or 3-day events in different places. I went to like Chicago, I went to Ohio a couple times. I went to, you know, like Napa Valley, went to different things. And it was like almost like the one time I had like a thought in my head. I was like this whole thing, I was like amplifying to this level where I was like being like this guy that was like doing things like going, you know, doing things more like techie where I'm in the office all the time and I'm like doing all these things that I normally weren't doing. And I have like a whole set garages that I have that I own that I have all my materials in there. So like I'm more like I run around, I grab all this stuff. I'm like a GC, I'm in the field, and that's like what makes me feel like solid. Like that's what I like to do. And I just like almost had like this weird identity crisis where I was like, I'm going to be giving all that up to do it, even though that is the way to grow. I just didn't like the feeling. So I'm like, let me just stay where I'm at and let me just do what I'm normally used to doing. Because I was like going out spending thousands of dollars to learn stuff that I didn't really want to do. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen what was done. I've seen these guys flying on all across the country and getting up and going to look at an apartment building like in across the country. Like I'm not trying to be jumping on planes like every 2 weeks like that. Like it's just not my style. Like so like I kind of don't want to be all in with this soul. Like I'm super motivated. I'm super aggressive to get things done, but then I'm also like super like calm and lazy at the same time. Like I actually like to like be able to just not do anything for 2-3 days at a time.
Yeah.
Or I just want to like just do nothing and watch TV, just go out to eat, like just go, you know, shoot around, play basketball, and just kind of take an hour shower in the morning and having this like grind every day.
Yep.
So I'm going to try to maintain that, even though that falls under comfort zone, but who makes up the rules? You know what I'm saying?
Yes and no. And yeah, you're right. Like nobody makes up the rules except for you. Who made the handbook?
Like, why can't I write a page in the handbook? You know,
you can.
And a lot of people want to do that, but they can't because like I have a unique ability where I can like kind of be like kind of lackadaisical and still pull stuff off nonchalant because that's just how I'm already bred to do that because I'm always, you know, improvising on the spot. Some people really need that full structure in order to pull stuff off, and I can just kind of like just mosey in and pull off the same thing.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just speaking. I'm not comparing to nobody. I'm just saying like
that's... No, I totally understand what you mean, but probably a lot of that is because you did go through the opposite, right? You went through the structure. You went through having a big company, a big sales team, having lots of employees.
So that burn's not the same for me. Like,
yeah, and it's like you learn through doing that it's not what you want. It's not how you want to do things. And like, I think I see, like in the mastermind group that I'm still in right now, Collective Genius, I see so many guys come into this group, and when they come in, they're like making a lot of money, but usually they don't have a team. They're like a solopreneur that's making multiple 6 figures a year, and they're like, I want to get to the next level. And I almost feel like it's a trap, because they come in and they see some other guys that have bigger teams, bigger companies, more systems, more processes, more technology, more whatever. And they think that that's the next step, the next level for them. And it doesn't need to be, man. Like, because it really all comes down to, what do you fucking want? Like somebody that is making, using numerical examples, right? Somebody that's making 300 grand a year and they're working whatever, say 20 hours a week or whatever. And they're like, cool, I want to get to the next level.
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
might not be able to do the next level.
But the next level for them really might be, instead of making 300 grand a year, I want to make 400 grand a year. But now they come into this thing and they're like, oh, well, to get to the next level, I have to hire an assistant. I have to hire a sales team. I have to have support staff. I have to have a physical location. I have to have an office, right?
Yeah.
And they start doing some of these things. And to your point, it's like they kind of have that identity crisis, and they're like, dude, for one, I'm making a shit ton less money than I was. I'm working harder than I was. And I don't even fucking like any of the things that I'm doing. Yeah.
And that's exactly the point. I think I'm good.
But you got to get there first, right?
And I've been through everything you just said. Exactly. I couldn't even have put it better. And I'm good at real estate, me. Like, I'm not good. I'm not saying I can make a real estate team right now. Not like I'm talking about the contract and then like I have guys and subs and all that. But when it comes to like setting up and having a whole like personal assistant, and you have all these people doing different stuff, and one guy's doing acquisitions, one guy, like, I don't do that. I'm just more like literally the easiest way that you can think about doing it is the way I'm doing it.
Yep.
And it's like, I have all the skills to do it. I know all the paperwork. I know how to talk to tenants. Like, believe it or not, it might sound crazy, but in my lifetime, 17 years of having rental properties, I probably had upwards of 100 tenants. I never once took a credit application on a tenant before. And every tenant that I've ever rented to, I always personally met the people there. And I'd show it, it's open. I'll put it on MLS or Zillow. I'll get 10, 15 groups of people come, and I just talk to them, and I just have like a real keen sense of like talking to somebody, and I kind of like say things, or I'll do little setup questions where I like make a comment or make something about something where like it seems like I'm being all like real like casual with them, and kind of see the way they react to what I say, and I can kind of determine the kind of person they are.
Yep.
And sometimes they might have like sent me paid stubs because they were already like set up or whatever, and they like knew that they knew that like when you're applying for properties, like you have all this paperwork already together, so they come and they're like, oh, here's my stuff. But like, I don't care about paid stubs. I don't care about I don't care about anything. Like, if I meet you and I like you, I put it in there. I put you right in the house. And throughout the course of the 17 years, we'll call it 100. It could be a little more, a little less. I've had like 4 evictions.
That's not bad.
And I know people that have 6 or 7 houses that have way more evictions than that. So yeah, it might sound crazy, but I don't care about somebody with a 720 credit score that has like that makes 60 grand. Like, if somebody's coming to rent a property and they already been looking at similar properties, obviously they know they can approve that. It's not like you're trying to get something you can't afford. Everybody pretty much knows they can afford what they're going to get.
Yep.
And to be fair, a lot of times I would have a lot of references from other tenants of mine. So if like a tenant would be in my property already, then they would say, oh, like my cousin's trying to rent, or a friend of mine. So like sometimes that would happen, but I really don't go through a lot of tenants either, because I kind of like, I treat them fair. Like, I never charge a late fee in any of my properties.
Really?
Never charge
even when they are considerably
tenants,
late?
Behind. I don't raise rent. I have somebody that's in a 3-bedroom house right now paying like $10.50 right now. That was like their rate when they moved in 6 years ago, which we all know things are different. So I try to put a lot of the personalness into the rentals, and because it was technically a secondary thing for me when I had that marketing company up till a couple years ago, I never really cared to like break people's backs with fees and all that. I actually prided myself on like when people come, they're like, oh, I ain't gonna have to pay $50 for this. I'm like, look, no fees, no nothing. I'm just saying, like I'm just asking questions, blah, blah, blah. For a little period there, I started using that NTN, the National Tenant Network, where I was running like background checks just to make sure they weren't criminals. Cause I had like this weird thought where I'm like, yo, what if this person's like a felon, like moving in the house and then they're like doing stuff. And a couple times it did come back where they actually had stuff. And then maybe out of laziness or it's not dealing with it or just creature or habit, I just kind of like went back to just, I meet people, you could just tell. You talk to somebody and that all comes back to the door-to-door sales. So like sometimes in this life, like everybody's trying to get the perfect job or they feel weird walking door to door or they feel weird doing this. Sometimes you can gain like a forever life skill.
Dude,
just by
absolutely, it's massive,
and that's my only thing I can contribute to anything. So like technically, all my success, all my net worth, all that stuff. Like I'm like I don't like all these things that you have to change to get out of the comfort zone. Like I'm not saying I'm set, but like I have a foundation where like I'm kind of like all I have to do is kind of like follow the yellow brick road, and it kind of like works itself out.
Right, because the foundation is there. Yeah,
I'm not saying I got to make $10 million a year, but I can make a good amount of money, live a comfortable life, have comfortable things, and do whatever I want, whenever I want. And like all I have to do is just kind of like manage what I'm doing now, just stay a little more structured, and that works for me. But all these other people out here, not everybody has the capability of being you. Like you're an impressive guy. Like you have this whole office, you can do things, you can do tech stuff, you can like build systems. Like no, I can't do any of that, but there's certain things that I can do. But more people are like me than like you.
By the way, I hate building systems.
But you can do it though.
I fucking despise it. You're right. I can, but it's painful.
So when I'm talking to a lot of people, they can. There's a lot of relevance to me. It's like because it's like, oh wow, this guy is like normal and doing it. Like how does it work? And I have like such a dumbed down way of like explaining it to somebody that has no experience and get them to understand and grasp like what they have to do to start doing something or help them with their life or their business. Sometimes people, and you have that ability too, so you're like a hybrid where you can do all this stuff and do that, which is why I like you. But it's kind of like a lot of these people, it's like these guys that are working out and they do all these training videos and they're like showing abs like Sean T or something. That dude has genetics. Like there's some people can't get there and some people can. Some people have a thyroid condition and they're wanting to lose weight and they can't. So it's like, not everybody can build a big company. Not everybody can have like, virtual assistants and have all this overhead in office. It's like too overwhelming for them. Some people just want to be just a little crack in it and do it part-time. So it's just what it is. Everybody has a different shake to it. To me, I've always had a different version of how I looked at what the success would be, and I was fortunate enough to be in the right places at the right time and pressed at the right time. Like when I was making, good money back in the day with my marketing company, I could have just blew it on other stuff. Instead, I kept putting it into real estate, and now when it comes down and we're in this economic situation, I have all these chips to trade in. So it's like, I'm not really like thriving in practical business now, but I got chips to trade in.
But you have options, I
can just trade it in.
Huge,
Not
man.
that I wanted to trade in long-term chips because you got to, pay capital gains and recapture rate on all the income, but then there's other ways to offset it. So there's experience where I know I'm going to get exposed with the tax liability, but then do something to be able to offset that. So it's all just a balance. And
what do you think changed, from like 10 years ago, like what your definition of success would have been 10 years ago versus now?
It's kind of the same. That's a unique thing too, is because like, when we were doing those different things in the mastermind where they would do those little, like assignments where they would say like, what's your why and what are you doing? Yeah. I never really like had a why. Just did it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like everybody's.
But you have to have like an internal kind of definition, an idea of what being successful means to you.
It was always, I said, it was always driven on being better than people. Like, so if somebody had it was like, oh, look at this guy, he has more or whatever. I don't know. Because that's an eye-opening thing. It was an uncomfortable feeling where it's like you're doing all this stuff and all these people are like, my why is my daughter, my why is my this. I mean, I always obviously want to help everybody. I do help my, my family through the years. I do different, like I do look out for a lot of different people in a lot of ways, but it was never defined. Like I really just kind of just like was programmed just to be like good at things. And then that was all like the why was, it's just like, be the best you can be, and the money just follows. So like, it was literally just like, let's get the status. Like, all right, how many rentals you got? Because everyone asked that question. Like, when you're around in public and people ask you, I'm like, oh, you do rental? How many you got? Like, people cared about it.
Yeah.
So when I was 25 and I'm like 27 years old, I'm like, how many you got? 40. How many you got? 50. How many you got? 60. Like it was like a game, and it was like, now it's like you do what's best for you. So now my why would be just like, now it's starting to fall into that where I want to lean into like being like, I'd like to be relied on by my people that I love. Okay. So like, that would be more of what it is. But obviously, like, once I have kids, then that would be like 100% that. But being somebody that's like closer to 35 and I don't have kids, I don't know that feeling. So I can't say they're my why because I don't have them yet.
Yeah.
Like
but I don't even mean like as deep as like your why. I just mean like, so if 12 months from now we're sitting down and we're talking and I'm like, yo, I guess at that point I'd be saying, how was your 2024? Like, did you feel that the year was a success? I don't mean like as deep as like your meaning and purpose and everything, but like, how do you determine and define what makes 2024 a good year for you?
Yeah,
like, is it a financial thing? Is it more units? Is it liquidity?
No, it's just more just getting more structure.
More structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because the other way I did it for so long in my comfort zone that I didn't have to have structure because it just became so simple to me. Now, because I have to revamp everything, and
another plug. I love it, buddy.
And I have to
gonna have you back every month.
And I gotta, pivot all the stuff I'm doing. It's like now I have to get out of the comfort zone, which is gonna be within the same realm of what I do now. It's just more like, being more stricter with like deadlines. Like I told you, for years when I didn't care about what the outcome was, like it'd be like, oh, what's your budget on that rental? I'll be like, I don't know. Could be 25.
You're
could be
speaking
40.
to my soul.
Could
You just
42.
asked me about it for here, right?
Dude,
I'm
I did
like,
full flips with like no, like I didn't even like track it at all.
Yeah.
Like I would have but then you get a gist of it. I probably did 60 flips in my life or whatever it is.
Exactly. You're kind of numb to it because it's
I'm like floors this, appliances this, cabinets. Like I'm like, 40 to 47. I don't, it could be 40.
I'm the same way. It's like when I started, that's the thing. I had everything super dialed in and I had spreadsheets for every single thing. If we went to Home Depot and spent $17.63 and there's 5 flips going on, bet your ass we're scanning that receipt, categorizing it to flip number 1. And now I don't do that anymore. But in reality, it's like, even if I can't pinpoint like for each individual project, like what went in and what the profit was, I know what the numbers are. You know?
It's
like you just know.
But that's when I have these new flips coming up. That's like my goal is to be a little more structured, and I am going to try to keep like I'm not like going to do everything.
You can't do that yourself though, man. You can't do it yourself.
For the flips, I'll just write it in a book. Like I'll just do it old school, and then have someone translate it to the spreadsheet later.
See, that was always my thing. Like,
I'll just jot
if
it
I
down,
ever let it go for like 3 days, especially if you have multiple projects going on at the same time, even if I scan all my receipts, but I didn't categorize them to which specific project, you can talk to me 3 days later and I'm going to be like, I have no idea. I don't know where any of that went. And bro, it's bad, man.
I tried a lot.
Dude, I'm talking like big things too. Like sometimes even now, right? If we aren't right on top of the bookkeeping, it's like Jess can come to me and she's like, oh, well, what was this $12,000 you spent last week? And I'm like,
no clue.
I really don't know. Like that
don't
sounds
really
ridiculous,
matter.
but
it's I don't really want to, like, to me doing all this stuff, if this is like all about people that are watching us trying to be entrepreneurs or trying to do real estate, like, isolated real estate, or if they want to do other business, it's all just about like what makes them thrive. So like like my version of success is like being able to have enough money to do whatever. Like I built $1 million house, I lived there. I got to refinance it out in today's world, so my payment's gonna be super husky, but I'll find a way to do it.
But it's dope.
And it's always just a way to do it. And it's like, just figure it out. And you just get the right people around you and, the right mindset, and you just figure it out and make it work. And some people some people are out there making like millions of dollars a year. And I'm like, damn, but they're like also like only showing us the good stuff. It's like people that do sports betting. They're like, oh, look at this parlay I won. Like, oh, show me the 10 you lost. Yep. Like I've bet before. I've had $10,000, bank rolls on online sites that I got given, and I took some $10,000 week losses like back in the day, and eventually you just taste it and you're like, it's not me, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think with social media, to your point,
Yeah.
like there is so
We're only
much
seeing all the good
fake
stuff.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see the highlight reel, and that's why I like. There's a lot of reasons I like sitting down and doing the podcast and everything, but it's like it cuts through all of this shit, right? It's
Yeah.
a real conversation, It's like you're talking about real stuff with real people, and you're talking about the good and the bad. Like in this conversation we just had, we talked about a lot of the bad shit, man. We talked about the negatives, the downsides,
what I'm
and
doing is
everything.
not
It's not a highlight
duplicatable.
reel.
I'm not saying I'm like a poster boy, like, oh, be like me. But if you're somebody that's like a normal, regular Joe person that's just kind of trying to invest, but you're not trying to be in the public light, you're not trying to like have this whole big, like system where you got like a whole office and rents and responsibilities, and you're just trying to be like a successful guy.
It's possible.
It's definitely possible to do. And I mean, I've definitely grinded, but I'm not like, I don't know everything. I just know what I do. I just do like the same few things, and I just did it like rinse and repeat. Like I don't really like change too often, but that would be, I guess, back to your 2024 question would be is like just embracing changes in different ways. Really trying to find some kind of structure to what I'm doing, and just kind of like, giving myself a break, because I am kind of like somebody that kind of overthinks a lot, and I always have something on my mind. So like trying to find ways to quiet my mind. Like things change you, so like I was kind of like an invincible, like, like I've had an invincibility complex, and I just kind of like always press the envelope. And then, like I said, when like lost my dad like 3 years ago, it was like kind of like it shell shocked me. So it kind of like changed me. And sometimes people lose their dad when they're younger or whatever, and it doesn't affect them the same, or it's still sad. But it's like, to me, like it kind of like, I kind of like felt like I had a built-in anxiety about losing my dad for like my whole life, because he was somewhat sickly. And it kind of just, I stayed close to him. I lived on the same block. I lived at home till I was like 25, and it was like strange dynamic, because I had like, I don't know, 25, 30 rentals, and I lived at home, and people were like, how do you live at home? You're doing all this. I had that whole marketing company I'm talking about and 25 rentals and still lived at home. And there was no other way besides not trying to leave my dad. And it was like this built-in thing that I had. So when he passed away, it was like kind of like sad, obviously. It was crushing, and I never thought I could get past it, but it knocked me down a lot. And I kind of like went on hold for a couple of years, where I just kind of did things to stay above the surface. But I like, so since I like built my own house, did different things, got over it, I feel like I'm in a good mental place about it. Like I don't dwell over like him dying. I've kind of come to a sense that like everybody, lives. He lived till 70, and some people have less, and some people have more. Some people live to 90. Some people die when they're 30. It's just what it is. So he lived the life the way he wanted to, but it really knocked me down a little bit. So that's part of like losing that edge, like I said, about the being competitive and all that. It's like I just kind of like value my own like peace now, and I just like was like on overdrive so much. Like I amassed like a $8 million portfolio, so I'm like running around doing all this stuff, and net worth of over 5 million, and not really doing everything the way everyone's telling you to do it.
Yeah,
and it didn't really mean anything, because all I was like, just kind of like bottled in my own little world, like trying to, stay next to my dad and being here. Didn't like change, didn't ever move, didn't want to do this, didn't want to change processes. So like being consistent kind of like worked out for me, but a lot of times it doesn't for certain people, or, and so now my whole mindset's like totally different than it was 3 years ago. So I'm like the same version, and I still do the same stuff, but like everything's kind of, changing up a little bit, and I have to embrace it, because it's like biggest thing for me is not changing. And it's like, it's more like to my core, like it's genetic with my, like I see it in my family, like on my mom's side, they're all like struggle with things changing and different aspects and dynamics to how their life is. So now I'm just like kind of doing my thing, just trying to, just embrace it all coming in, like, like big thing, like doing big thing after big thing, and new relationships, stuff like that, and just kind of like embracing it, like getting ready to have kids and stuff like that, and like really releasing that, because that's a big responsibility thing. But it's definitely something I think is right, like immediately next right now for me.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be my new fire, is like, seeing like a little, like how you had with your daughter, like all of a sudden that thing, like that happens for me. I feel like I'm just going to go into another gear, and I just won't stop, because I'm pretty determined when I do things. So,
Yep.
So like, but yeah, still talking like me being, half-assed is still top 5, you know what I'm saying? Top
Yep.
5 percentile. It's just, if we want to be better and do more, you know, maybe I want to build a big empire somewhere and I start doing bigger things and getting involved with big stuff, or I just stay mid-class and just kind of do more deals, be a little more structured and do a couple other things and just kind of, you know, make good money, but just kind of keep it at a normal level and go to soccer games and make dinners and not be like so consumed, because I gave up my childhood doing that.
Yeah.
From 14 to 25, I was the guy like, oh, where's Jamie? Where's he at? Is he coming down the shore? Oh, he's coming Sunday. And I'm like, my dad's down the shore and I'm fucking working all weekend. Like, you know, so like it's stuff you reflect on, you know? He's like, oh, you coming? Oh, you missing again? Like, and he wouldn't like be mad at it, but he would just make the comment. I'm like, oh, he's like, oh, well, see you Sunday. And I'm like, I didn't know the last 3 years I'm giving up like fucking seaside hike trips with my dad on the weekend because I'm trying to make an extra $600 like doing some bullshit somewhere. So
Do you beat yourself up about that?
no, I don't.
No.
But I just want to, like, I'm
kinda
somebody
let
that's
it go?
like, yeah, just want to learn, you know, just
Yeah.
learn from us in the next boat. Like, I don't, you know, the next thing would be kids. Like, so am I missing my daughter's soccer game in the future? Or am I going to fucking go try to do a deal? Like, no way I'm going to do that.
Dude, it's tough, man. Like I still struggle with it sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Like, and it's so easy for people on the outside looking in, right? Like, and again, bless Cynthia because she's so
yeah.
fucking
Her
awesome
part-
and
it fits you so
supportive, right?
perfect,
But
yeah.
like, dude, I can't tell you the amount of people that go to her and they're like, oh my God, I don't understand how you allow Drew to work
Yeah.
as much as he does, do what he does, you know? And she does a good job deflecting it and everything and kind
I'm
of
sure
letting
she
it
has
roll
her
off
own
her
little
back.
battle with it, yeah.
But for sure, no question about
Yeah.
it. But you know, it's really easy for somebody to say, and I don't really miss sports games and everything. I try to make it a priority
do-
that
you
I
do
never
good, yeah.
really do miss anything. But there's
Yeah.
no question, man. It's like even on a regular weeknight, right? It's like often I don't get home till 7 or 8 o'clock,
Yeah,
right?
and
And it's
your
like the
son's
kids are
sleeping, yeah.
home at Leo's in bed, right? That's a sacrifice, and it's easy for people on the outside looking in to just be like, well, Drew, you have enough money that you can afford to just call it a day at 3 o'clock and go the hell home, right?
Yeah.
But
It's a constant grind. It's the money isn't just like there's no
yeah,
button
it's
for it.
not
You
just
gotta-
about the money, right? It's like for one, there's something internally within me that I just physically can't, right? It's
Yeah.
like I want to do more, I want to be more, I want to be better, right? But when you look at that, and that's where the conflict internally comes from for me, right? Because, and I've heard so many people say the same thing that, oh, well, everything that I'm doing in business and in life is for my kids from this point on.
Yeah, it's like so
right?
generic, yeah.
But it's like, well, if everything that you're doing is for your kids and you can back into your actual living expenses and you can live off whatever the number it is, you know, I'm just making something up. You can live off $80,000 a year and you can make $200,000 a year working 20 hours a week. Why are you ever working 21 hours a week? Well, why are you doing that?
I never even counted
Right?
hours.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
me either. I mean, it would be insane
Yeah,
if
I mean,
I did.
I've-
Nobody will believe me anyway, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, to be honest, I don't even count. Like, I don't even count what I do. Like, ever. I never
Well,
did.
so that's the thing too. It's like, especially when you don't have a team to rely on, it's like massively, dude, you're kind of always working. Even if you don't feel like you're working, because a lot of the things that you're really good at, you enjoy as well, right? Like you said, you don't think that that's work when you're driving around, picking up materials, dropping stuff off, making sure your guys are set up at projects and everything. You don't think that's work.
Yeah, it just
An
happens.
average human would be like, this is work right now.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I enjoy it, but it's so second nature.
Right.
And to
right.
me, it's like I'm a creature of.
You don't
like-
hate it.
Yeah, and when I was a contractor years ago, like not for customers, just for my own stuff, I really figured I was getting ahead by doing it because I was still making a whole bunch of money from the other thing. Like I was literally like making $10,000 a week, we'll just call it. And I was still out there like tiling floors when I was in my like 20s. It was
Yep.
what is this? And then I had to like release that and like let that go because it's like, you know, I think Joe told me, he said, it's like, is your day worth more than like $250 for a skilled guy to do that in place of you? And I was like, yeah, I guess. But I still do GC my projects. I still oversee it. I do like, I'm weird with like finishes being a certain way. Like I want
I
to
get
make
it.
sure stuff's right. So I do pick up stuff. And I'm at a point now where like I enjoy designing stuff and I enjoy like doing that part and just overseeing stuff that I don't want my guy, I'm paying my guy $250 a day to for, you know, maybe 6 hours after you dice down the lunch and all that stuff. I don't want them wasting time, like, you know, because we all know you go to Home Depot, it's an hour. It don't matter if it's one thing or 10 things. So it's like 20 minutes there, maybe more, hour there, 20 minutes back. It's like 2 of the 6 hours is gone in Home Depot picking out stuff that I don't even know if I'm going to like. So I'd rather just say, like, you go and whatever. I spend 2 hours a couple times a week. I go grab stuff. I you know, I have it down to a science where I'll load jobs, and then they come in the morning, the stuff's there, so they don't have to waste time and just oversee it. And it's like, yeah, it ain't the most scalable thing, and only I can do it. I couldn't, like, sell this business.
Right.
But it's fine. If I can go out there and make up those margins in different ways, and I'm making 40, 50,000 on a flip, and I can do 10 a year, 12 a year, got some rental income, like, I feel like that's pretty successful over the course of already having a 17-year head start for people that are 35 just starting now. So that's the time is in my favor. So I don't really have to change nothing. Anybody that's starting out, maybe you do have to do a different thing. And my way doesn't work because you don't have that. Like, I have, you know, as you know, we did some deals. I have like almost 200,000, maybe not quite that, maybe like 175 in my CAMA plan, like, and for a self-directed IRA. So for being 34, 35, it worked out only because I started young. I started funding my account when I was 18. So, like, if somebody normally starts at 30, like, they're only going to have, you know, that couple years in there. So, yeah, so it's not anything more than less than just saying consistency over time creates opportunity. And that's like the definition of what I would say is in my favor. So I don't really have to, like, if you're just starting something, you might have to, you know, streamline a different way or market a certain way, because there's not going to be the same kind of opportunities, because you can't just, like, you know, snap a finger and just have all this stuff. Like, it has to be accumulated.
That's
like,
happened over
I'm
time.
talking about, you're talking like 42 rentals. Like, there was like year, like, say 2008, I bought 2, 2009, I bought like 3, 2010, none, 2011, 2, 2012, 9. That did nothing for 3 years. It was like 2, 1, that just establishes. It wasn't like I just went on a frenzy and bought a whole bunch.
Yeah, you didn't snap your fingers and wave a magic wand. And that's the thing. It's like, a lot of this stuff really does come down to time and hard work. But time and hard work aren't sexy. That's not highlight reel, right? It's highlight reel when Jamie's talking about, you know, millions of dollars worth of properties and everything, and being like, able to do hundreds of thousands of dollars at the drop of a dime, right? And it's like, it takes time and it takes work.
There's times I'll have, you know, 500,000-600,000 in the bank. We talk about it all the time. And then other times I'm like, damn, I got like $9 grand in my account right now.
And the cash flow swings are insane.
Man. So stuff comes down, and then that's when I think credit cards come into play, or I'll just live my life on credit cards. Not only are they good because you can not stress about it. I mean, sometimes it'll be set up where I'll make the payment before the minimum payments due, and then I'll pay interest on it. It just depends. But that gives you that buffer. So if you're somebody that's only, you know, say I'm exclusively flipping right now for money, like, that's all I do for.
That's like your active income.
So if I'm only getting paid like 12 to 14 times a year, and you don't know when you're getting paid, you know, all of a sudden I might get nothing for 3 months and then get 40, 50, 60. And then, so what am I going to do? Like, you know, so you just collect all those credit card points and all that. I mean, it's not really that relevant, but, you know, you can cash in for stuff. Like, a lot of my cards are hooked up to my Amazon, which you probably see. Like, you make a purchase, and all of a sudden, do you want to use your points for the purchase? I'm like, yeah, and I get like free material for the house if I'm buying lights, or
it can be significant,
like
man.
Cabinet hardware, stuff like that, or a faucet, like certain items I buy through Amazon for the flips or the rentals.
Hell yeah.
And I mean, there's no like real like tricky thing that happens. I mean, there's definitely some. The process of how I do things is very mundane and plain, but all the in between stuff that you learn through the years, you got to learn, you know, like all the paperwork, like how to do certain things and what things need to look like, and how, you know, what's possible, what's not possible, like how to analyze stuff. And, you know, it's not like you're always right either, but that's the little behind the scenes stuff. So like on the surface, it just looks like, oh, this guy's just casual, he's flipping shit. Like, there's a lot of, you know, glue behind the casualness, and
there is, man.
But I'm comfortable doing it. So as long as I can stay a little structured and keep myself, like, you know, motivated, I guess I can do it. But I guess the key thing would be is, you know, just anybody that's out there that's like, you know, struggling to find motivation. You just have to like find like that, you know, that flame. And a lot of guys are doing really well, like, you know, getting involved with fitness and stuff like that. Like that's something my next journey, I want to try to get in, like maybe not super extreme, but enough where, like I told you, I started fasting again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fasting's good, but you know, I do like food. I do like taste and stuff. Like I think, you know,
You're a foodie, bro.
yeah, big
You're
time.
a foodie.
And I'm cool with that, to be honest. Like I'd rather sacrifice a little bit in order to taste stuff. Like I'm not giving up, like, you know, like certain foods. Like I just rather be a little less on the fitness end and enjoy those foods. But there's also limits to it.
Of course.
And I'm definitely not, you know, I had different times in my life where I was super fit and other times I'm just kind of maintained. But yeah, some
It's a
people, they
cycle,
find
man.
that, you know, like I do see it and I'm like, damn, it would really be cool to be super in, you know, fitness and do all these different things. And people are getting up all early and focused and all that. Like it's definitely something I peak at, but it's like, I'm not really mentally there to do that yet. Cause I kind of value, some people just eat cause it's lunchtime. I like plan my day around what's for dinner. I'm like hitting on my girlfriend, like, what are we doing tonight? And like, I'm like, she's like, where? I'm like, PF, like I have shit planned out, like food wise, cause we don't have kids.
What's
you
for
know?
dinner tonight?
Yeah. Like, where are we going?
Do you have a plan yet? Do you know what's for dinner tonight?
I kind of want a veal parmesan, like a veal chopped parmesan when it has
Okay.
the bone in it. I
All
kind of
right.
want to
So
find
you
the
kind of
best.
just said PF Chang's, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that's tonight.
You're going there?
I don't know. We have
Is there one around here?
there's one not too far from where I live. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, probably 15 minutes away.
I do like
15
PF
minutes
Chang's.
away.
Man.
Mia has
after
a
6, man.
concert tonight though with her school thing, so probably gonna be eating late. you
Yeah,
know,
we're going
but-
to Tinseltown tonight.
All right. All right.
So it's like a little
Dope.
thing down in Center City where it's like a little Christmas thing. So, yeah, I mean, definitely going to get something big to eat afterwards.
I love it, man.
But yeah, I mean, I really do. I've always did that as a young kid. I always valued that. Always spent a good portion of money on buying food and cooking food. Like I don't eat like fast food, but I definitely like going to go out.
Yeah.
I think like one year when I was in the heyday of that, I think my accountant, like one time he came, he's like, "How do you have like 67,000 in like
it's not hard to
restaurant
do,
food, dude?"
man. Oh yeah.
And especially going out and you're with other people or like guys that are working for you and you
Oh,
come
my
out,
God.
you just throw the check and you're like, it's like $90 and plus tip. You're like 110.
Yep.
Like I might have went out to eat like 5-6 nights a week for like all my 20s.
Dude, yeah. I
Why
get
wouldn't
it.
you? You know what I'm
I
saying?
get it.
Like, why wouldn't you? It wasn't even a big deal. It was like nothing. It was 10% of what I was making. Like, it was nothing.
For a while with the company, yeah, it's like I was taking the entire company out.
Yeah, for lunch and
usually
stuff.
like 3-4 days a week,
Yeah, I
man.
remember
and
that,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah, when it's rolling, it's not even
stacks
about.
up.
It's just I like you're definitely not as much as a foodie as I am. Like you're just kind of like you get stuff
Yeah.
like plainish or whatever. But
yeah.
like,
yeah, I'm a child.
but I used to be like that. But now all of a sudden my palate's advanced. And
Yeah.
I can't help it. Like I like literally like I won't even feel hungry unless it's for a certain thing.
It's awesome.
But when I fasted before for like the 120 days, like that did cut down some. So I'm aware of what it is. And it's like, it's just like anything else. Everybody's struggling with certain things. For me, like I'm not like an overeater per se, like all day where I'm stuffing my face with Snickers
Yeah.
and all that shit. But when I do get something I like, I will eat a whole bunch of it. Yeah.
Indulge. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can go like last time I ate was what 8:45 last night, and I didn't eat at all. And I'm not going to eat till 6. So that's 20 hours of no food. So I have the discipline not to eat.
Yeah.
But I want what I want when I am eating, and I don't
love
even
that,
care.
man.
And I don't care if it's fried food or, you know. So if I eat something fried, I'll eat it a couple days, and then all of a sudden I realize 2 days in a row fried food, I'll back off for a week. Like it's still some sense to it. Like I'm not
yeah.
just eating bread every day or something like that. But just all normalcy.
Discipline, though,
But this
yeah,
is all
yeah.
stuff that I think is going through everyone's brain, and it's not even business related. It doesn't always have to be
No, yeah.
yeah, business. It's everyone has anxiety. Everyone has certain vices. Like
Wait.
I eat certain foods, but I don't drink. I don't drink coffee. No caffeine. I don't like no alcohol. And don't smoke weed. I don't do anything. And that's nothing wrong with that. But certain people have different vices or things that they need to do.
Yep.
And so I have to stay motivated with no caffeine. So I'm out here just doing this.
Man,
just
that
on-
sounds like
just on
Superman
heart,
to
dude.
me. That
Yeah.
sounds
And
crazy.
and I'm actually
I
sensitive.
love caffeine. Finish my Red Bull.
caffeine
I love
sensitive to
having
me.
a whiskey every night, you know, and smoke a lot of cigars. Too many cigars.
I mean-
a lot of bad habits, but
Yeah, but then you don't really.
we're not perfect, man.
and
We're not
that's it.
perfect.
Everybody has their little thing, and because you got to enjoy it, right? What's the point of life?
That's it.
If you're just going to do everything all the time that's like right or like what somebody else is telling you is right, I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing I can say, you know, on to, you know, the viewers out there. If people are watching this, is like, just do what
Be
you
you.
do. Yeah.
Be you.
Like, who
Yeah.
cares?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Work
I
on
can
growing you and learn to read between the lines.
Yeah.
Like have people that you look up to and respect and everything. And certainly
all
from a
that's all comes
professional
down there.
perspective, you want to model certain things, you want to do more, whatever, fine. But understand how to read between the lines of what is actually going to make a difference and an impact in your life. And why does that matter?
Yeah.
You know?
And what works for other people might not even care. Like there's some people that have this successcial stuff. Like somebody can have like a yacht. Like I don't even want to go on a boat. So like, you got that? I don't even
I'm
care
not going
about-
on a boat.
I don't care about a yacht. Like I don't want to have a freaking house in the mountains in like a whole nother country. Like I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to trip there. Like it's not even, so it's not bad that they have it, but I don't even want it.
I love it, man.
Yeah, so I just kind of like just be you, do you, eat whatever you want, whatever, if that's what you like to do, just have some structure to it. I mean, if you're become unhealthy, obviously that's not good. You got to change, but you know, like if you want to sleep, sleep. If you don't want to sleep, don't sleep. If you want to get up early, do it. If you don't. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I do.
There's no real structure to it. As long as you're performing, that's it.
That's right.
If you want to be a regular person, just be a regular person. I know people that are super happy, and I'm almost like envious of their situation. They're like, damn, this person is so joyous. Like they just have so much joy to them. Like almost like, damn, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So that's why through the years I like backed away, and I always did things by design of like, I'm just going to listen to my body. My dad always said it to me. When you eat foods, it's like everyone like tries to stay away from all foods. Certain foods you eat, you feel bad, don't eat them. If you have another food, even though it's categorized as bad, if it doesn't affect you, then that's a food that you can eat. Just listen to yourself. If you're
it sounds
overwhelmed,
so simple, right?
Yeah. If you're overwhelmed at work, don't work. You know, if you want more, then go more. Not everybody has the mechanism just to be successful. Like we just do it. And we're not perfect. We're always like, you know, venting about what's happening, and where everybody's in a kind of like a crisis mode right now in one way or another.
Yep.
But just do what you can do.
Yeah. You'll be
know,
fine.
like, yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. You don't have to like, you know, like success is all different for everybody. You know, some people are just, you know, like plant flowers and they just are out there and they work they're like older people. I see them and they're just life's so simple and they're like planting flowers at like some community garden and going out to like brunches with somebody.
That's going to be you.
It could be you too.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
But there's definitely more to life out there than just kind of like chasing money and chasing different things.
Couldn't agree more.
But it's also, if somebody never tasted it, so it's like something you have to taste first.
Got to.
Yeah.
Got to.
So like, you know, you get that fire and your back's against the wall, whatever. Like I was motivated as a kid because I was like a lot of people can contest to this, where I was like I felt like I was like a kind of like the guy left out a lot, where like all my cousins and best friends were all like Catholic school kids and CYO this and all that, and I was like this public school dude, like just kind of floating around. And then all of a sudden it was like when I turned 15 or 16, I started working. I felt like gave me the confidence to start doing certain things. I got real good at sports, and I was kind of like turned into the guy. So that's where I think that started, where the competitiveness, because I was always like kind of like the last guy there.
You wanted to prove yourself.
Yeah. And then it just overdrove, and all of a sudden I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna make it. And then it just turned into where you just get this like slight ego, where you're just kind of like, I don't like going like bragging on somebody like, hey, fuck you, I got this. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
But
well, we all have ego, whether we think we do or not, right? But that can be, especially if you're cognizant and aware of it and how you kind of process things, like it can be a really healthy thing to have an ego and understand it, right? Not be like most people think, oh, well, if somebody has an ego, that means they're an arrogant dick. And no, not necessarily, because everybody has an ego, right?
Yeah, this is all internal for me. I never like went around saying it.
Right.
Certain people might have thought it about me certain times through the years, but I wouldn't go in there like, go. But I'm just reflecting now that like when I'm thinking of what's the difference between me now and back in the day, and like I really did if whatever you did, I'm like, I'm gonna outdo you. I don't even care what it is. Yep. It doesn't matter the topic. If it's something I'm interested in and we're doing it, I'm gonna outdo you. I didn't care what it is. Yep. On my little scale of the things I do. I'm not saying there's dudes out there that are like doing these $1 million things. There's guys making millions of dollars in their sleep. Like I'm not that level, but the level I was at, if I was involved, if it was sports, money, property, status, gym, whatever the topic was that I was interested in, it was a big thing for me to be like, if I seen something happen, and it wasn't just me. There's people out there everybody talk crap,
Oh yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing, right? Like it's fun to be as a dude to have your buddies that you are competitive with. It's
Yeah.
like, yo, man, I love you, but fuck you, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I
that's
feel
cool.
I feel like I thrive the best when I'm in competitive situations. So
For sure.
So I just got to reestablish that, and just do it my own way. Like I'm not like it's just more like sharing, trying to like fish for things just for sake of the conversation, like of like what the mindset was before, because like it kind of like we started off like talking about like the beginning on how things work, and for young people, like it'd be awesome if like people can translate what I'm saying, and it helps out like a 19-year-old kid or something, because that's like kind of the people I would try to guide the most.
Yeah.
Somebody's like 18 or 19, and it's just like so strange because like you think about like buying property when you're 18 on your own. There's no like dad, like not that my dad wasn't there. He just obviously didn't do real estate. So like I literally like figured out how to buy like 3 rental properties when I was like 18 going into 19, like just by myself, found it out and just grabbed them somehow.
Yep.
So it'd be like really strange because today's world, as everybody knows, like these 18-year-olds seem way younger feeling than when we were 18. Like I was like 12.
I think that's just perception. I don't know,
man. I was like 12 taking like buses like 20 miles away to malls and going to like high school dances. Like I see like people now that are like 15, 16. They don't look like they're doing any of that, dude.
That's true. That's true. I think
So I'm thinking like an
18-year-old
kid that's helping me carry shit. Like I had a couple of people, like just younger kids helping me. And I'm just thinking like, they ain't like, I would just be so shocked.
Ready.
Like they just came and were like, oh, I got a rental. Like how? What do you mean? And it could be a perception thing, but it's strange. So it would be cool if like, if later in life when things like calm down and I wasn't in like, like on, I was in like a more calmer, like kind of like more consistent mode. Like it would be interesting to try to like help out young kids where you just like, it wouldn't even be a money grab. It would just be something where I would just like,
it can't be a money grab because young kids,
and
other than you, there was a freaking unicorn. Young kids don't have money.
But it would be stupid even if they did. It would be like, why would you do it? Like the purpose would be is like, when I was 18, I would try to ask people, and there'd be guys, and it was like
you wanted that,
and they never gave
that
help.
Existed,
and they never gave help. I'm like, I never wonder like, why are these guys like 40, 45 years old? Like, why? Like, it would be like to me now that I'm 35, I'm thinking like I would love to like do that.
It's why I do a lot of the things today that I do because I'm like, man, I wish that I had that. I wish that existed. I wish that there was that person that did this for me. Yeah, no, you're absolutely
right. So if I like did a thing in the future where it's like I'm like running something, even if it was like something like silly, like where I like went to like a Red Robin or something and had like a Wednesday afternoon thing where it was like all kid, like people that are in like maybe 12th grade and above or whatever, like something like you don't want like a 9th grader in there. It's kind of like they're not really like developed enough unless they're could be a situation where they are, but like people that are 18 to 20 years old and they're like somebody that just comes and there's like a 3-hour thing and you just I spend a couple $100 and everybody just gets it like something low key. And then people just start discussions and just opening up your brain. You don't always have to like get a pamphlet or a whole program to learn something.
Yeah, dude.
Most of the stuff I learn is just conversations.
Absolutely. Simply sharing a story and opening somebody's mind to what possibilities they didn't even know existed. Mm-hmm. That's how you change someone's life, right?
Yeah, not everybody reads. Like I don't really... Like I read stuff, but I don't like actively read books. Like I don't learn the stuff I learn and the stuff I do. I don't ever learn from books. I learn from like talking to people.
Yep.
And actually, to be honest, like even when we joined that mastermind, like that's why I gravitated to being like, initially so intrigued by you because you were already like, involved with doing wholesale. You had systems and obviously that's my weak point. So I didn't really know about that. So I'm just thinking like this dude has the same makeup as me. He's already got that end that I don't have. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like, and then I just kind of like didn't even really like he would, other guests would come in from other things and they're like other asset classes and all that. I didn't even care. Like, I'm like, so I would just kind of like try to just gravitate towards you just because, and I tried it out and it wasn't for me. Yep. Like I had all the ability. I had you in the background, like telling me what to do, how to do it. I put all the money against it and I tried to do wholesale for like a year and a half and deals came, but it was just like I felt like it was like a drag, like I was forcing myself to do it, like it was like a punishment almost. So I just took like $150,000 like loss, I guess you could say, and just kind of moved on from it. And it was like a little experience, but it was like something I figured out that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And the cost per deal, if you're not on top of it, is this thing. I'd rather just pay you the wholesale fee.
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
same
It's
cost per
so
deal.
easy. Like, because really that's one of the reasons I started wholesaling in the first place, right? Was I guess it can be tied to ego, right? But when I was scaling my fix and flip company, there were a couple deals where we ended up, there was one in Philly that I really remember. It's like there were two wholesalers involved. We paid the first wholesaler like 80 grand and he was daisy chaining the deal. So the first guy got like 40 grand. I was like, man, I just paid $120,000 in assignment fees. Really, I could have bought this house for whatever the original contract price was, like the $80,000. And I'm like, man, I just bought this thing for 200. I could have bought it for 80. And really, like, I'm grateful that I had that thought back then.
Yeah.
But really, that was
up.
a naive thought because you go into that thinking I could save $120,000 on that one deal that I did, but you don't realize that it changes everything, right? It's like it's a business in and of itself. It's not a real estate business. It's a sales and marketing business.
Yeah.
And goddamn, it is a business. And
I know what that money is
and
like.
it burns money, right?
Yeah.
It burns
I can
money.
appreciate more what you're like saying because I had that 1 year of doing it and I was doing it at 1/10 of the scale you were doing and I was burning 15, 20,000 a month. It felt like, and you were obviously bigger and doing it. So like everybody that sees you and do all this stuff, like they just feel like, you know, like different times when you got buyers trying to like chintz you down on your wholesale fee. Like, oh, dude, you're still making 25. Like, dude, I'm paying boom, 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 boom. I didn't do a deal in 60 days. We have nothing come down. You're 25. Like I've already paid out everything. I'm paying utilities. I'm paying, you know, bulk mail, bulk this, bulk that. And it's like people are counting your money and it's like, it's crazy. So I don't want
But same thing, you have that perspective because you went through it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And that's why, and that's really what my unique ability or superpower is I have so much perspective and even things I never did before. I'm so like, it's kind of like part of my little compulsion that I think everybody has. Like these words get thrown around like anxiety, compulsion, depression. Everybody has like a little version of it. And it's like, it's such a big word that gets like so put out there, like, oh, depression. It doesn't mean I'm like sitting there like, you know, like super depressed. It just means there's certain things. And my little compulsion with stuff, and I always thought I was like super detailed, and I always like knew everything, and I always like paid attention to everything and had a good memory. Really, that's a form of compulsion. So, yeah, I kind of gathered that all up, and then it kind of gives you like insight on different things.
As you understood more about that with yourself, did that make life in general just kind of easier?
Yeah, because I kind of realized it's like I don't really need to remember all that stuff. Like I don't need to pay attention to all that. I don't need to know like what the person, like what somebody's full situation is. I just kind of like only use it in certain areas that I know I need to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so instead of being looked at as a good memory, like trying to remember everything about different family members and what different things are.
I remember there were at least a handful of times where you brought something up and you're like, oh, you don't remember that? It was that Tuesday of September back in like 2022. I'm like, Jesus, how do you know that?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where you can identify that.
And that's good for sales. Like if say I'm marinating somebody that I'm going to sell or buy a property off them, and you're like, you know, you make initial contact, and it's not like how you're doing it. It's not like a random person. It's like somebody references me to like some lady that's.
It's more relationship.
Yeah, and then we're like, me and her are talking because that's how I'll connect. I'll start talking to people, and it starts getting more in a personal level. And we're not even talking about, we're not like, I'm there to buy your house, and we're like talking about everything under the moon besides buying your house. Yeah, that's like the skill that I would have.
Yep.
And we'll start talking, boom, 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 and then you're like, oh, and we're like talking about like a pizza place. You're like, oh, I love Gino's. Like the pizza's great there. And then all of a sudden, like, takes 6 to 8 months to turn into something where we're finally selling the house or whatever. But I remember it, so like I'll come to the closing with a Gino's. And she's like, "Oh, you remembered?" I'm like, "Tomato pie, right? Half pepperoni." Yeah. She's like, "Oh, well done." Like you just remember these like little things. And that's not really compulsion. That's like a good memory because you're like you're being in tune to remember stuff. And some people just have like a sales thing where like they think they're good at sales. Because it's like if you might be good at like PC Richards or Circuit City or something like that, like selling stuff because you're giving facts about the product. When you're doing these personable sales, like you got to do everything and do all the connections and find out like what makes someone tick, and then that's like, oh, by the way, we have this mini friendship now, so you want to sell me your house, right?
Yeah, so. It's funny looking at everything from the sales perspective, like. I'm not as disciplined with it as I have been in the past, and I beat myself up over it. But like I used to be real consistent with doing sales trainings with my team at least once a week. Like in addition to just kind of going over active deals or anything, right? But so in doing that and preparing some sort of training, it means that, well, I gotta usually consume what I'm going to train my team on first, right? So I've watched plenty of other trainings that are outside of the realm of real estate. And it's funny that a lot of like the top trainers in some other industries or whatever, and I don't know, man. I just feel that what we do in real estate sales is like the highest level. So like I'll watch some of these other trainings and I'm like, oh my God, this seems like kindergarten type stuff, you know, like what we're doing, it is so much deeper in so many ways, you know? Yeah. So I guess like my entire outlook on sales, a lot of people look at sales as like, oh, the guy selling used cars, it's a sleazeball or whatever. It's like none of that shit works in what we do.
Yeah.
Everything that we do really does come down to exactly what you just said.
But you can't teach that though. You can teach somebody to be a car salesman. This other thing, you have to have it. I mean, you can have great systems and just the bulk, like say, like in your case, say you're a wholesale, you got guys hitting the phones and they just get bulk opportunity, like obviously like a whole bunch of opportunities. Eventually a deal will just come through the cracks or a lead will come through the cracks. But if you're like somebody smaller place, like where you're just a one-man show and you're just, you know, getting leads somehow, like you really need to have that unique ability or you're not even going to get to the next level to even make it worth it.
That's right.
So you might be able to like delegate it and get a couple good sales reps that are better than you at what you do, but you'll never even get to that platform because you don't have it yourself to make it worth it. Because usually that's the order is like people are really good at what they do solely, and then they say, let me duplicate it to the next level. But sometimes they don't know how to be a leader or they don't know how to be a salesman. It's one or the other. And if you are both, like you or something, it'll work out.
Well, it's funny. Like even when I started the wholesale company, man, like I may have done one deal before I started hiring people and everything. And
then you got a couple rock star guys on the phone and everything.
It's really ironic when you think about it that I started a phone sales company when I despise being on the phone, man. I'll talk to people all day long, right? Like I don't care about that, which really I feel like I am an introvert hardcore, but I don't not enjoy talking to people, but I do despise being on the phone. Like I really don't like it. So the fact that I built a phone sales company is super ironic.
Well, it comes down to the Mark Evans thing to find the who to do the how.
That's true.
They're the mule or the magician. Like, you know, you're the magician and you know, not that we're calling sales guys mules, but that's, you know, if it's just for the sake of his expression, it's like, I mean, you can make a whole computer tech company that does all this stuff, even though you are techie, but you can do a whole computer tech company and know nothing about computers. Absolutely. And you just got a building and a bankroll. You can just get some tech guy in here and he does it and you just get all this credit for making this company. You have nothing, you don't even know nothing about it.
Right. But back to that point that we were talking about earlier, if that is you and you're not the expert or have resources in some field, whatever it is that we're talking about, there has to be some other value that you bring to that deal.
Well, it mainly means that is possible, but it can't be your first step.
Correct.
It's not it's not your first notch on your belt.
And maybe it means you just have the money that you can.
Well, you never get the money until you can create something. So you have to initially zone in on what you like to do that you're or not like something that you can do. You might not even like it. It might just be something you can do, and you just hate it. And then you can eventually get to that. But some people try to start with the one thing that they just can't do it and they run out of money and they're it's so hard. Like wholesale's easy to you in general. And it was the hardest thing in the world for me, but then I'm achieving in so many other ways. So it just depends on what you want to do. Like I thought it was the hardest thing in the world, I'm not gonna lie. Like it was like everything I did was like pulling teeth, like getting on the phone, people were hanging up, the calls, like all the metrics, all these like key things you gotta check and all these like these terms that people are using. I was trying to catch up with it and it was like I had like 9 different subscriptions to different things. I'm paying VAs. I'm listening to calls, and these people are like saying like weird stuff on these calls from these virtual assistants. But then other people swear that the VAs are great. I don't know. It just depends on what you're narrowed into. Like I was narrowed into being real good, and other people are like, oh, I can't do a rehab to save my life, and I'm in there like quarterbacking
yeah,
rehab.
this is easy, yeah.
And that's what I like to do. And then some. So I'm sure the upside's bigger if you're doing everything automation and tech than just trading my time to be good at being a GC. But
if that's not what you want,
care.
then who cares?
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm already
right?
at a level where I'm not the highest level, but I can at a level where I can just do what I want to do for the main, for the for in general,
Yep.
And right now is a little crazy, but I mean, there's just a little time, and you got to work through the interest rates and do things. But in general, I can just kind of maintain what I'm doing. I just get certain roadblocks you got to like get over, just like anybody does.
Yep.
And and if something else hits me, or I get another motivation, or a big opportunity comes, or I start getting involved with like wholesale and land development, where it's not so, the mundane talking to homeowners, and you're talking to like business owners that are more equipped to know like what the real world is. If they have like $1 million plus property, they kind of have a little more sense of what's happening. Yeah. So if I get involved with something like that, or building, like, I was really thinking about doing land development, like buying like big lot, like a really big lot where you can build like 50 single family homes, and you do like a 2 or 3 year project, and then you just build the whole thing out. Huge. So because I have this new construction background now, so it's like I can pull that off. I have all the crews lined up where I can like actually pull it down. I would just have to really like obviously be structured for something like that, and have something I couldn't just be walking around on. I can't do that on the fly.
Yep.
So that would be a comfort zone where if I can get myself a little more like secure on that, like, and start being more structured on the smaller stuff I do now, and I can roll over to having a better infrastructure for the bigger stuff. And you do a big project like that, it might turn into 3 years, but you might, be able to scab out, $1 million in 3 years
on it. Yep.
In a 3 year deal. So it's like, you could turn into something big where you just do a couple big projects a year, or be like a big builder for luxury homes somewhere, go out in New Hope, and I have different connections out there where I can maybe squirrel in and be a GC for a guy out there and get more of skin in the game. I know a guy that like builds like $5 million houses out there.
Hell yeah.
So it's all just stuff like, do you want to get involved with it? But we have our own limiting beliefs where it's like, oh no, I don't want to do that because of this, this, and this. And I have so many cons to doing things instead of just embracing something new.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's good because I'm consistent, but then I'm also limited because I don't want to change what I want to do. And I think that's a lot of what a lot of people do, where you're running around like acting busy, like you're busy, like, are you busy tomorrow? What are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm da-da-da. It's like, do you really need to do that?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
totally understand.
So yeah, just trying to, zero in on what that next change would be. And I feel like, to me, I kind of feel like we always say, like for you too, it's like you kind of perform the best when your back's against the wall.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So if I get kind of pinned up or whatever, and all of a sudden I just go into survival, and then I'll just, get into another thing. I'm not, and something will pop up, and then all of a sudden I'll get inside a crack, and then
you're going to make it work. Well, whatever you're in, always you're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of comfort that comes from that, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't want to sell nothing. I don't want to like have no programs, or I don't think I'm qualified enough to like make a program. I'm like super good at what I'm good at, and I can help like normal people like get on the right track of actually starting instead of having like a field pipe dream. I'm not going to collect money for it.
Yep.
I'm just a good resource to have. I feel like I have like just a lot of street knowledge of being out there, like in the field doing it, and like not just. So yeah, I mean,
I love that, man.
Yeah, I just don't like. I don't want to have like nothing where like someone's like, oh, can I pay you like $2? I'm like, I don't want no money. I'll talk to you for like a half hour, and if you have a question, I'll put you in with a bank or something. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's dope, man.
Yeah,
that's dope.
I just don't really like have an interest in it at all, and some people are like really great at it.
Yep. Honestly, no, I think it is something that you could be really great at. And the fact that you have the thought that at some point in your life, you want to help youth, kind of develop that, that idea, that entrepreneurial spark that they may have, like that's huge, man. That's massive, because I know that you would be really good at it. Yeah. I think you downplay it a little. You're like, oh, I could help, your average person. Really, when you boil it down, everybody is fucking average in some way, shape, or form, right? So what you're saying is you can help anybody, really, is what you're saying.
Because you can be the smartest in one category. There's people I know that are like doctors.
Yeah.
And they're like, they have no clue about what to do in investing. Like, how do you do that? You have higher raise, self-directed. What? And it's like, these things are so basic.
A lot of things, man.
Yeah, just from being in the field. So like when it comes down to like like economical stuff, I'm real, like, I'll know all the stuff, I know all the banks, but then when it comes down to like actual like subjects and stuff, like I don't know like really much about history, like, you know, like I'm not saying like when I'm writing a sentence, I'm not all like super punctuated or whatever, like, you know, like I'll write emails in all caps, like I'm not really, you know, I'm like I don't
I'll write emails in all
you know what I'm saying? That
caps.
drives people crazy, but I like that, you know. Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, you know what I'm
right?
saying? Because it don't matter.
Yeah.
Like I'm just getting a message across. Like in my world, don't make a difference. Like it's not going to change. Like I'm not. It's not saying that I'm disrespecting people that love punctuation and all that, but I don't give a shit. I'll throw. The sentence seems like it's
I'll
going
make
long.
my sentence word the way it wants the word.
If the sentence is going on long and I don't know, I'll just throw a comma in there. I don't care if there's a period or whatever.
Throw a comma up in that.
If we're
John.
talking about it, and we're getting a message across. That's all it is. Hey, there's the
feel
detail, and it's just I don't care like, as much. And some people love history and they
that's the
care.
way you are.
I
It
care
works for
about
you,
like
brother.
real life. You know, like I always said it, like all you need is like just like high common sense and human courtesy. That's like my two attributes,
Bro,
and that's
absolutely.
the only thing. So
agree more.
yeah, it could be like some people might think it's like totally crazy, like that's what it is. But so somebody that can say like, hey, I was able to reach this platform and be this success, you know, like for my version, I feel like I'm pretty successful. To not have to do all that other smoke and mirrors, that might be a challenge where these people think that they're more maybe closer to what I am, and they're like, I can't do it unless I'm this, this, and this. I have to do this. I have to eat this. I have to read and do all the stuff. Like, dude, I don't read. I haven't read a book in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I've never did.
Yep.
I've never read really. And then people like, and somehow I have knowledge in certain ways and the stuff I do. So, you know, it's not all about that stuff. You know, I mean, that's definitely the better way to do it.
That's a great message. I think
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people need to hear because we talked about it a lot.
It's like all this like fake
know,
stuff. I used to like buy books off of these influencers, and like they would come in the mail, and I'm like tagging them in, like just got this gem. I'm reading blah blah blah's book.
And
Like,
I'm not gonna read it.
I didn't even
you
touch
know?
that book, dude.
Yeah, I can't read physical books, but I do.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Do
You buy
audiobooks,
buy the books and you take a picture and tag these dudes in it, and like I met them at like some kind of mastermind somewhere. And it's no disrespect to them. It's just more so like to try to get like to support them.
I can't read, man. That's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is. Legit. I don't have the attention span
Yeah,
to
me
read
either,
a physical
yeah.
book,
But
I
it's
can
more
do
so
audio,
not to
but yes.
disrespect the people that read
I get
it.
what you mean.
It's
Yeah.
just to support the guy made a book. I want to like.
That's right.
I got people like looking at my Facebook and on whatever capacity, and you know I'm checking it in, and people are like, he's like, thanks, man. And a couple other people look at it, and it gets that guy recognition. Like it's more for that.
Yep.
And some people like love reading. It's like really cool. I love real life experiences and talking to people and like, you know, like looking at stuff and like observing and asking 10 questions about something when a normal person might ask 2, and I get my information that way.
Yep.
And I think that's okay because a lot more people
is okay.
in today's world, a lot more people are having this attention span deficit and all these things where, you know, they're going to be more inclined to being more this way where they need like these outlets to be able to like learn on the fly, but nobody has the time.
Yep.
Everything's becoming virtual. There's no more life experiences. People are not getting out with hammers and or like, you know, learning life skills and everything. And then it's like everybody did do that. And then everybody said the opportunity was all in like IT and everything. So now everything's becoming virtual. And nobody's going to be able to do anything. Now, if you know how to do basic contracting, you're going to be like some freaking unicorn.
Yeah.
And it's like really the hard workers were like the people that were like looked over before. Now it's going to be like reverse. Now it's going to be like, oh, you can build something, I'll give you 500. Like no, and the IT stuff's like, oh, you're just IT. You're like you need to use your hands.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting
Something's
to see
gonna
everything
happen.
that happens with tech as it evolves and everything. And
Yeah,
you
like
know,
I have
who
everybody
knows?
in the world relies on me to do all these like little goofy things. Like nobody else in the world can hang a shelf. Nobody else can hang a TV bracket. Nobody else, like, how am I the guy that's coming for all this shit?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can move a bed. Nobody can like do anything. It's
Yeah.
like crazy. I'm not like coming at one person or another. It's just like feel like everyone asks me to do all this stuff, and I'm like I can't say no to shit. You know, so it's like, what do you say? Like everyone's relying on you, but it's like, did they even try to do it?
Yeah.
It's like they don't even want to
Well,
try.
That's a whole nother thing,
So
right?
that's what I want to do. If I can make any change on people, is like just get these younger kids and like really get them to, you know, be out of the house. I know it's like cliche to say like don't be on the tablets and all that stuff, and it's easier said than done because your kid, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's like
Absolutely.
you can give him the tablet and he's going to chill for 4 hours,
Yeah.
but then I'm really going to try to press my kids and maybe like you know, my kids' friends or whatever, like just try to like get them outdoors, like take them places, fishing, go camping, like have them cut stuff, like, you know, have them use like saws and, you know, like cutting wood and burning fires and like just doing things. Because like I had a friend and his dad was like that, and it really like carried with me. The guy really went. He was like a little goofy, where he was like a little, like, he yelled certain times, but he was like really. He made that impact on me when I was a kid, where he made me do like real life stuff, and it's like, I just can't, I don't even know how you can even put a value on that kind of experience. Yeah, like doing stuff and building stuff and going fishing, and it's kind of weird. And it's like kind of like the people ain't like that, dude. Everybody's just like gone now, dude. Like everyone's just like tucked behind a desk, or like doing whatever they can to be lazy, or bitching about their job. Like back in the day, when I like pay attention because of like my detail, paying attention to stuff, like nobody really, like, people were like prideful in what they did, and people like, they, even if they didn't agree with stuff, they didn't like bash or slander things. Like everyone just like gossips and bullshits and talks about stuff all the time. It's just a different world.
Yeah. Well, you got to elevate above that. You got to be better than that. But we start that by, especially with kids and everything, giving them a good foundation and everything. And it's hard because the technology is really relevant, and it's going to be even more relevant in their lives than it is in ours, right? We're going to be so much more dependent upon it. But you're absolutely right. I think, real world experiences and what we thought as common knowledge and common experiences when we were kids, just like, I don't know if it was the same for you, like in the city growing up, but it's like, man, me and my buddies growing up, like when I was probably before I was even a teenager, we would just go out and ride bikes all day, every day, man. It's like we didn't come back till like it was dark out, And it's like kids don't do that anymore.
Did that stuff, like go around riding bikes, taking buses, making like a homemade go-kart in like my friend's garage, like making a go-kart and putting wheels on, not like a gas powered one, like some kind of something that you can like get on a hill, like on a hill and roll down, and we would like. So I would set up like races, and like where like 3 different groups of kids were making one, and we'd have like a race on a Sunday down the big hill on the one street. Yeah, like setting up haunted houses, like doing like little walkthroughs, or doing like fake wrestling. And my cousin had like an old like camcorder or whatever it was, and we'd like do wrestling, make fake belts, and like we're like jumping off like fences and shit.
That's cool, man.
But I'm sure some kids still do that now. But it's just like all that stuff. Like you get to this point and that stuff just gets forgotten. And it's like that's like a big piece to like my creativity. But
it's still within you.
And that's why I'm creative on the different stuff that I'm doing, like thinking outside the box and making stuff happen, and just being creative in all aspects, and having like just so just if the kids are not doing that nowadays, and as they turn into adults, it's like they're just like they don't talk. Like when I talk to like 18 to 22-year-olds now, they don't really have much to say, and it's like kind of like seems like a shame, because all the adults are all like, even themselves, they're all stuck on social media. They're all doing stuff, so they're just following suit.
Yep.
If all the adults are on their phones, what, I know it sounds like all the other millions of people that say this, but like that's what kids do. If you're out there like, like chopping wood and, doing things and, taking hikes and all that, and you're outdoorsy, your kids are going to follow that suit for the most part.
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work that way, but
we're solving the world's issues here, brother.
I don't know,
we're
man.
Solving them.
So
it's a complex world, man. It's a complex world.
So I rather to end our conclusion is I rather just be enough successful just because of like the longevity of my decisions, and just kind of be more on the normal end. So like work as minimum as possible, do enough. Big deals come, make sure I hit them. And just be more like a family guy, a present guy, eat what I want within reason, sleep if I'm tired. If I want to stay up till 2 with my girl and watch a movie, we do, because we're not stricken by a schedule, and do whatever, and just try to, do the fitness thing as best as possible. Like by no means do I want to do like hardcore of anything. I just want to be like a balanced person and go through cycles of life. Like certain times you're like super focused on fitness, and you might be fasting, you might be watching bread, or taking certain vitamins, or doing like a probiotic, or doing gut health stuff. And other times you're like a little loose for the summer, or sometimes you're like in work mode for a quarter of the year, and then all of a sudden summer comes and you're one of those people that are like down in Cape May for the whole summer. Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah.
You don't have no set plan, but you don't want to be like this plain Jane dude that's always doing one thing, and then your kids are looking like, oh, is dad going to be there? Is dad going to be home? Like if I'm having kids, I'm Superman. There's no like, oh, I'm just like, he's my dad, I love him. Like I want them to be obsessed with me.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I think they will be, and I think you already are Superman in a lot of ways, brother. I respect a lot of what you've done, and I know that like you've said, a lot of your friends, people around you see that, they respect it. You've done crazy things, and I'm super excited to see what comes next.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're definitely on the cusp of some big stuff too.
My man, I'm trying, you know,
No,
we're working on it.
When I see your situation, like you said, you do make all that stuff. Like I have you and Cynthia on Facebook and Instagram, and it's like you definitely do show up a lot. So it's like weird sometimes. I'm like, how does he have time to do all this? But I would just say keep pressing on that, because sometimes even though it looks like everything's good, and she might be going along with playing the role that she's in. But yeah, all your kids are understanding. Like, keep bringing them on job sites. Like you had her helping you.
That's my rehab. Form of balance, man. And
yeah, but I use you as a reference a lot sometimes. Like when I'm talking to people, I'll be like, oh yeah, my friend, he has this and that. And like it's like your family is like kind of like I would, if I could just say, like, if I'm choosing and I get to choose a type of scenario, like I would choose that.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah. I appreciate that.
And it's just like, it's like kind of like something you can't force. Like, you guys are just so natural that it just works out. And regardless of who's in what role, it's just, and even the kids follow suit perfectly too. It's kind of like, but that all comes from, like, they're out, like what I'm explaining, you're kind of like there, like, your kids are outdoorsy, they're swimming, or like in the mix, like stuff. Your daughter's playing sports, like not forcefully, like she's she's singing, even though,
Bro,
she had her,
and with Mia, man, like,
but she has people, I remember like years ago when she was singing, where they were like kind of like somebody was like making fun of her for singing a certain way, but then she like still doing the choir and just kept pressing forward. And she's like, now moving. It's like, I thought she was good the whole time because she was a little girl singing.
Yeah. Yep.
But she's got like this edge to her, and it's like she didn't just get that accidentally. When she has like the mix of both of you guys, where she has like your edge to like want to push, and then she has like, she has the demeanor that Cynthia has. So I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of that's just, you could say it's just fortunate, but I think you guys like press that and make that work. So, I mean, you do have the balance. I mean, I know you get sucked into stuff, but that's because you have like so many big things going on where it looks like you're, might be not being as attentive, but like you're always catching it up. So I think I try, man. And as you build it up and you get the more, more freedom, then you'll be, because they're
absolutely
going to get to that age where you're going to be forced to, because once they get, when all of them like is what me is like 12, 12. And then, so McKenna is what, 6 or 7?
Yep.
Yeah. So once she turns like 9, 10, then they're going to be more like blended in age.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be like doing more stuff with them. So just like, don't even blink, because like you only have this, like, it's like an opportunity that's like only really here.
It's the truth, brother. It's
right now. Like to have all 3 kids and then, like it'd be like what, like 5, 10, and 14 or something. And it'd be a good mix, like the vacations. Now you can do more stuff because they're like more age where they're actually involved in it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that's like the pivotal thing for me. I've always like never wanted to miss that. Yep. So like my whole thing, I don't care like if I'm just like a plain Jane Joe guy, like I'd rather just have like my 3 kids and have like that 20-year span, 25-year span where you're all in the mix, because then you're 55, 60 years old and now they're just visiting on holidays. I don't want to sound like all like sad about it, but that's like my, like I've always been destined to be that. So like I'm priming myself to be that. So I never want to take my attention so far in one direction, even if I have the ability, just to maintain that, because you work through stuff, people get divorced and, they mess stuff up, or, different things, or their health goes weird, or their mind. You can be so warped in a business that your mind just like, you feel like you're doing as much as you can, but really you're just not present.
Yeah, absolutely,
and
man.
It's, so you do a good job of balancing it, at least, in the capabilities you can. And to me, I'm just gearing up for that. So it's just kind of like
gearing up, brother.
Yeah, setting it up, and I'll still always do it. But that's the key thing, when you keep this lackadaisical form of doing business, that when that comes, you're not like falling off the ledge, because now you got to change. I'm never literally on the ledge.
Yep.
Like I'm like kind of like always there. So I'm like, during the day, I have plenty of time. If I have to go and like I have to watch, like stay home with the kids or whatever. Like that's just natural. Like almost like I want to do it and I have the ability to do it. And then I like sneak out a couple days, do the work. Have a couple flips going, some rentals, and just, just kind of like do it that way and just kind of like breathe a little bit. I'm like, I kind of pride myself on being low key lazy.
Well, look, there's a lot of value to that, man.
Yeah, I kind of just want to relax a little bit, man. Like I burned out. Like a lot of people
it makes
like
you
start
be
burning
good at things though too, right? It's like
you push in. Like it's like a reverse thing. Like it's like a lot of people, I keep saying a lot of people, like, I don't really care. Like, I'm just more so me. I'm just saying they like party and do all this stuff when they're 17, 18, 19 into college. And the time they get it together, they're 30. They went and played around the whole time, and they're like, we'll call them like we're not lazy, but like just not really pressing. I pressed from 14 to 30, 32 or whatever. So now it's like, I'm not being lazy. I'm not partying. I'm not doing that, but I'm just saying like, it's a reverse, and it almost should be that you should take on the most stress and the hardest work when you're younger. Why would you want to take it on when you're like 45 and you're raising a family and doing it? I just took it on first. I did it reverse, where it's like I took it on, and then it's established instead of being like 35, and all of a sudden now you're worrying about, you know, annuities and IRAs and stocks, and worrying about trying to build a business when you're raising kids. It's like it's already, all that groundwork's out of the way. The trial and error's out of the way. Now I have a formula that fits, and all I got to do is just stay motivated enough just to follow what I already built. And I'm just happy that I was able to like do that. So it's hard. New people coming in, they're asking me, you know, advice or certain things. It's kind of different for everybody. Like
it is different for everybody, like, but the common thing is just go do it.
Yeah, exactly. But what I try to do is I try to give advice for the situation that they're in.
Absolutely.
So like if they ask me, how did you start? I want to start. I'm like, well, dude, like, I was 20 years old making 500 G's plus a year, and I just used it to buy real estate in my own neighborhood on blocks that I liked. You're not going to be able to do that.
It's going to be different for you.
Maybe not, but I'm going to give you advice. Say, so what's your plan? So like, and then I'll listen to what they're saying, have all the knowledge of the different resources and different possibilities, all the different outcomes that they can have, and then come up with like a little quick on the fly tailored thing where look, if you were going to start, this is what I would do. And then give that little 30, 40 minutes to them, and they can call me, follow up. Like I've had people my age call me, just little stuff, like just giving, you think I should do this, you think I should do that, and I'll just like hit them with a rapid fire thing real quick, and they're like, damn, man, maybe I shouldn't buy that. I'm good at the rapid fire.
That's a perfect time to drop in here and say, yo, so where can people find you, Mr. Malcolm? Can they find you on social media?
I don't know,
if they want to reach out to you and
you can find me
get
on
a free
Facebook.
Plan.
Yeah. You can hit me up on Messenger. I'm not really selling nothing, but
no, that's even better. That's why people are probably going to hit you up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for certain situations, like, I mean, not everybody's really, like, everybody is different. Sometimes somebody just needs a conversation just to get their juices going. Like if it's somebody that's like a friend or somebody that's like, hey, you can see that needs it, and they're like kind of like got the ability, I might just like throw something at them and get their juices going. Just kind of get their mind open to doing better things. But then if someone's coming and like really like interested in real estate, and they already did some of the legwork, and they read a couple books or seen a couple situations, and they have a roadblock, and all I have to do is like have a 10-minute convo and give them a resource, and now they're over the roadblock. That's really intriguing to me, because I had to fucking jump the roadblocks myself, like literally like figure out everything myself. And it was like going to banks trying to get blanket mortgages on like 5 rental properties at a time for like $600,000. They're like, oh, you're 22. Like, we can't justify this. Like, what's the age mean anything?
Yeah.
If you're legal age and you have tax returns and you have experience and your portfolio is like 10 or 12 houses and you're trying to, it's just, I went through all that stuff, and I'm sure people.
And if you can help with the learning curve, you're happy.
Everybody
to do
goes
so.
through stuff. It's not just like a victimized thing, but it's like now you come in there now, like someone's looking at stuff and you're telling them, you're showing your portfolio or talking, and you're like, look, I've been doing it for 15 plus years. It helps you out a little bit.
Hell yeah, man.
So you get somebody's 40. It doesn't even have to be a young person. It could be somebody 40 and they just have a roadblock, and then you just, hit them with a whole bunch of stuff. And they're like, wow, I didn't know that you can do that. Like, oh, wow, I always thought like if I wanted a rental, I had to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, because we're all prepped to be like the normal way, like buying a property like in a conventional setting, like a normal house. You got all these weird things you got to do. You got to have reserves and money and prove where the money came from. Where is this? Your credit has to be that, all that stuff. Yep. You're doing a rental property. We know there's other products out there where you can do like a no document loan and do things that way. And, there's always different situations, and, it's just cool when you can just drop something on somebody, and it's like, I enjoy just talking about it because I'm social. And they're like, wow, man, wow. And they're like, and you just, and a lot of times it ends up being empty where you talk to somebody and then they're like, oh, I'm going to hit you up and I'm going to do that next month. And then they just don't. But you don't know. You could be planting a seed for 5 years down the road.
Dude, that's
but
the truth.
And it's not even for like being like a legacy or getting acknowledged or getting a shout out or whatever. It's just more, it's just you, like earth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people
you
just
like helping.
You're
That's a
on you're
beautiful
on the
thing.
planet. Like, what are we all doing here? Like, we're all just like running around, like worrying about money and status and who looks this way, or I just kind of like just contribute to something. And if you like have a passion to do it, and like, you know how many people come to me like, dude, it's like, thanks for like your help. Like, I don't like, and all I did was just like
huge,
talk to
man.
them. I thought I was just like socializing.
It's
and I like
huge.
open up their brain to, like, my friend Nick, his like wife, like called me separately and was like, oh, thanks for like talking. And like, we're really trying to start. And like, he did a few things, but it was like, he did it on his own, but it was like, it's just a conversation, and it just makes you feel cool when people acknowledge stuff. Like, and not that you, like, it's not for acknowledgement, but when you get it, you're like, oh, wow.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
obviously,
no, it feels cool.
if anything, you're like the president of that, you know? And sometimes it sucks because I feel like, you know, I get upset sometimes when you tell me stories because you really do go all heart on people and help a lot. And people just kind of like, you know, you got a lot of people like turn their back on you.
Yeah.
And you're out here like
Sometimes that
thriving.
happens, man.
So everyone's looking up to you. You're doing all this stuff, and you've actually like, you don't even like, because that's not the purpose of everything you're doing. Like, nobody even knows like all the stuff. Everyone's like, oh, everything goes good, Mr. Happy Lucky. Like, you're taking shots, dude.
Absolutely,
Like
man.
big shots. Like, you know, like everything looks good, and you got people walking, bouncing, doing things, burning you, doing like just like everything.
Yep.
And same thing, you know, but nobody knows that stuff.
That's
And
right.
It's not anyone's business to like the particulars of it, but yeah, like you ain't like everything ain't just like go smooth and you're just like touching everything and you're like a wizard and everything's money. Like, people need to know like there's some downfalls of this stuff, because people just think like, oh, I'm not enough, I can't be this. Like, dude, like there's all like people are taking shots. Like, you're taking shots, I'm taking shots.
Absolutely.
You got to get back
all the
up and
time,
keep
man.
going.
And again, I think that's one of the coolest things about like this type of format. Just sit down, talk with other real estate people, business people, people that I respect, people that I admire, and have real conversations. Because I try to talk about some of the bad things, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, in the last 12 months, like I've been kicked in the mouth more than
Yeah.
I really care to admit, you know?
I'm not even gonna lie. Like a couple times, you know, because I have like my little hurdles I'm going through
Oh, yeah.
right now with
Yeah,
just
bro.
you know, different things and interest rates and accessibility to things. And like you, like all of a sudden, like I'm calling you up, like kind of like just whining a little bit, and you hit me with a few things. I'm like, damn, I kind of feel better now. I'm not gonna lie. Like certain aspects of it, you know, it's
get
like
it. No,
damn,
no,
because it does work that way. Sometimes.
But that's the thing, right? It's like,
Like it's perspective, you know. It's like that's what it comes down to. It's like, and it's like it's not like anybody's situation or problems is less or more than the others. It's just like, damn, like, and that's what you get from masterminds, from talking to people, paying money. You get perspective and stuff. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't care about that. I know I found that I'm a little bit more than I thought I was, and people can start building themselves up a little bit.
That's right, dude.
And we're saying people, we're talking about ourselves.
Absolutely.
Too. You know,
100%.
This is all just for everybody. You know, it doesn't matter if even just me and you watch this thing. And
it's
that's
not
it,
all
you know?
sunshine and rainbows,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then all of a
but
sudden-
you can make stuff
But
work.
everyone wants to
and-
look at those wins like, damn, he just made 120 on that. Like, dude,
Yeah.
like you don't even know where that 120 could be like paying off all this debt just to like barely keep everything alive.
Bro.
No one knows anyone's situation.
That's the truth, man.
And I'm not, you know, everybody's been in them little waves. Like I said, I've been super up, super down, but
Right.
I'm cool with that. Like if everything was like easy all the time, you wouldn't appreciate the stuff when it was good. Like I don't want to ease. I don't want to hit the lottery. If people are like, what would you do if you hit 100 million? Like life would be a little stupid at that
Bro,
point.
I've thought
wouldn't
about it many times.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
want
don't
the
gamble
challenge.
anyway, but you know what I would do differently if I won 100 million tomorrow?
Well,
Nothing.
Yeah, just keep rolling. Just
Bro, I
put it
wouldn't
in,
do
yeah.
anything different. It literally, that probably sounds like bullshit to so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if I had a chance to really just get 100 million, like I don't play the lottery, so I'm never going to win it. So, but if I did win it, like, yeah, obviously, like, I'm going to take it. Like, I'm not going to take it.
Absolutely. But I'm saying my life would not change.
Yeah, it would be
right?
cool.
Like,
I mean, things would change a little bit, but like, it's not really so much that I wouldn't like it.
I would do the same
But
things. Maybe I would do a
that's the
little
way
bit
I'm thinking.
less,
Is I like the strain of certain things. Like I like the
growth.
challenge.
It's a challenge.
Like, what's the point? Like the whole thing is happening, and
Yep.
like nothing means anything. Like you get a good meal, it doesn't make a difference if you always get a good meal. I say that all the time. Sometimes I'm selfish.
And dude,
Everyone
on that
busts my
same
balls about
point,
that,
you know,
dude.
like the good days aren't good without the bad days.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. You know,
Yeah, if it's
like,
always easy, and I do have it easy, and sometimes I feel like I establish it. Even if things are bad, I still have it easy because I just only allow myself to be in a certain channel. But yeah, people say stuff all the time like, "Oh, you're so serious about food." Like, "Oh, look, the critic and whatever." Dude, I've been eating good food for fucking 25 years. I'm not going to just eat something plain. Like, I come and it sucks, but I'm not going to complain to a restaurant and send food back. I'll still pay for it. I'm not like that kind of complaint, but I'm like, I'll be like, They're like, "How's the food?" I'll be like, Like, I'm not really like, I need to know, like, if I know there's a better version or other things that are way better, that's the same. Like, if I get like, I'll say, like, chicken parm, I've been kind of digging that a lot lately. If I go somewhere and it sucks, it's just, like, I'm with my girlfriend, I'm like, it's not really the best. And then, because I know there's other versions out there. Sure. And then when I do get something good, I'm, like, excited, like, oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like, I really, and it's just, like, the joy of it. And it's, like, a big thing for me. I really enjoy food. And I'll never not. And I'd rather, if it causes me to, live a little less of a lifespan just because I enjoy a couple food items, I'm like, I'd rather live that way. Same way some people like to like smoke and, cigars or do different things or smoke vape or weed or drink a couple beers a night. That's cool.
Yep.
Well, you're going to live till like 82 instead of 89. Like, this is a fuck, dude.
I'm cool.
That's how I mean, that's how I kind of operate. And as I get older, if there's like a blood sugar problem or some kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe you have to adapt at some
I'm
point,
not
right?
going to sit here and keep eating like crazy stuff. And I'm not really eating crazy, but I'm saying if there's something where you got to cut out red meat for your heart or something like that, or you got to do stuff, like I'm going to follow the plan to do that. But for right now, I'm just going to like just live a little bit and just be a little less crucial of myself and just kind of like whatever happens, I'm just going to flow with it and just take things in stride. I'm not going to like take on anxieties for things that I like everything in the world got to change. I already compromise on a lot of stuff for 20 years. Like right now, it's like certain things might be a little easier for other people to do than for me and vice versa. So
I love that, brother.
I'm just going to be me and that's it.
Be me.
Yeah.
I love that, brother. I think this has been a super insightful conversation. I greatly appreciate it. Yep. And, definitely going to have you back next year, or sooner.
I'll come bi-weekly, man. I always got some extra shit to say.
You always got some knowledge bombs to drop. But no, seriously, I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you. You gave your Facebook and everything. You're not really like on Instagram though, are you?
No,
right?
Not really,
okay,
no.
So just Facebook. People can reach out to you if they want to connect and sell you some deals in the new year, right?
Yeah.
Trying to buy some stuff to flip, right? Going to continue flipping, continue renting, and
couple land development things like
land development. You want to
anything
partner with Jamie on land development? Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, brother.